Chapter 531. Filling the Heavens Mantien 5. Ohio is flying towards a certain place under Seo Wayol's arrangement. Seo Wayol has completely drawn Seo Unyun's attention, buying time for her to escape. At the same time, through the final arrangement prepared for her, Ohio, Hunwan, and Yi Wei are being transferred to a faraway place. That place, Ohio's spirit body. The eyes of that spirit body shine. The place she is heading to is familiar. At the beginning of Seo Unyun's 999th cycle, it is the main body of Hyeonium Zon Yin that was crushed by toying with blood yin. It is the last remaining place among the countless constellations. Flying quickly towards the star named Lofty Dragon Star, Seng Longxing, Ohio's eyes gleam. I can feel it. Over there, my reserve body for resurrection is waiting. It is the place where her second body, cultivated from her extracted blood, resides. Wo Wang, Lofty Dragon Star gradually grows closer. Seeing the royal palace Seo Wayol built on Lofty Dragon Star, Ohio's face brightens. It is a palace Seo Wayol built specifically for her. From deep within it, a familiar energy is felt. Ohio stares blankly at someone walking out from inside the palace. One of the contingency plans Seo Unyun prepared in case he failed to capture Seo Wayol and Ohio, and to rescue Yi Wei and Hunwan. It is Seo Hai, who has taken over Ohio's original body and is walking out holding the severed head of the reserve body Ohio had been awaiting. Seo Hai smiles up at her, in a manner very similar to Ohio. Hello, main body, do you remember me? I want to become me. Crunch, crushing the head of the reserve body she is holding, Seo Hai smiles brightly. Of course, it'd be difficult. But it's okay. Over thousands of years, I searched the entire universe, combing through every corner to find where your reserve body was hidden. I thought it would be impossible, but look, didn't do it. Seo Hai spreads her arms wide with a wicked smile. So, I will take on the challenge too. To become the real one. No matter how impossible it seems. I will defeat you. Ohio looks at Seo Hai and sneers. You don't know your place. Seo Hai looks up at Ohio and smiles faintly. I will kill you and take over you who's the main body. And with your authority, I will revive the perished filled square. With a determined expression, Seo Hai stands before Ohio. Because I was loved by him. Because I gained independence from his love for me. Before, I couldn't properly convey my heart to filled square because I was being controlled by you. But this time, I will eliminate you both and properly convey my heart to filled square. In the next moment, Seo Hai lunges at Ohio. A red blood robe wraps around her. A black mask covers Seo Hai's face, and all sorts of bizarre things pour out from her storage scroll. The first to emerge are 4 pagoda Dharma treasures. The Dharma treasure pagodas position themselves in the 4 directions of Seo Hai, forming a barrier. Next, 49 scrolls appear. The 49 scrolls unfurl in formation behind Seo Hai. Inside the scrolls, countless demon souls of demon beasts are refined, and as the demon souls escape from the scrolls, they begin to merge into one. Squirm. Before long, a monster formed from the combined demon souls of countless demon beasts emerges in front of Seo Hai. The monster, emanating an aura at the integration stage, looks down at Ohio and lets out a roar. That is not the end. From the palace Seo Wayol built for Ohio, countless blood corpses made from the carcasses of the sea dragon race begin to crawl out. These are not ordinary blood corpses. Circuits glowing with an ominous light are shining on their bodies. From Seo Hai's shadow, a cloud of blood begins to billow out and transforms into a massive ghost king wielding a scythe. From the center of all these ghostly creatures, Seo Hai's crimson eyes flash. A blood-red leaf fan appears in her hand. Summon the stellar winds. Wind path blood fan Feng Tu Shui Ba. Ku. A storm of blood begins to whirl around Lofty Dragon Star. Ohio glares at Seo Hai and sneers coldly. The Ghost King and demon souls come from Black Ghost Valley. The blood corpses were refined using Kim Yian's technique after hunting the sea dragon race on Lofty Dragon Star, and that leaf fan along with the method to wield it. It seems to be a method that blatantly borrows Seo Unyun's power. Ohio laughs mockingly at Seo Hai. You've willingly made yourself Seo Unyun's slave. Aren't you afraid of what that monster wearing a human mask will demand from you in return? A monster wearing a human mask, you say? At those words, Seo Hai's crimson eyes flare as she speaks. Isn't that actually referring to you, main body? With those words, the two collide. The monster formed from countless demon souls charges at Oh Hai Seo. The Ghost King, formed by condensing the blood cloud, drains the dragon vein on lofty dragon star while swinging its scythe behind Oh Hai Seo. Each of the blood corpses, all at least at the grand perfection 4-axis stage, rush toward Oh Hai Seo in unison. And Oh Hai Seo, wearing a chilling smile, summons the forms of countless immortal beasts. Ku gu 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 gu. The light of the immortal beast glass peacock engulfs the demon souls. The demon souls writhe in agony, losing their reason and beginning to scatter. The form of the immortal beast Yin Ghost Black Turtle appears. The Ghost King, upon seeing the Yin Ghost Black Turtle, seems entranced and stares blankly at it before being devoured by the Yin Ghost Black Turtle's form. The form of the immortal beast mountain-destroying demon ape descends from the sky and smashes into the earth of lofty dragon star. Kwang! The entire dragon vein of lofty dragon star trembles and the blood core collapses. Then, the wingbeats of the immortal beast Azure Rock sweeps away the blood wind of the wind path blood fan. I command, in the name of the immortal beast lofty dragon. Ku gu 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 gu. Behind Oh Hai Seo, the colossal form of a dragon appears. Lofty dragon star begins to resonate. Foul thing, how dare you, a mere split soul, covet the main body? The branch shall obediently be reabsorbed by the mainstream. Kurururung. Seo Hai begins to resist. Countless blood path methods, ghost path methods, and curse methods are unleashed as she pours all her strength into resisting Oh Hai Seo. But gradually, her soul begins to waver. As a split soul of Oh Hai Seo, Seo Hai struggles to resist her. And finally, Kurururuk. Oh Hai Seo's body, at last, reclaims her former physical body. Within Oh Hai Seo's heart essence. In that place that resembles a barren wasteland, Seo Hai and Oh Hai Seo stand facing each other. Ah, is this the end? Oh Hai Seo sneers at Seo Hai, reaching out her arm towards her. Gradually, Seo Hai begins to transform into particles of light and is absorbed by Oh Hai Seo. However, Seo Hai instead smiles faintly. As if this was her intention from the start. Do you know, main body? You're such a pitiful person. Ah, what? I was born loved by filled square and born from you. But, what about you? You've never received anything like that, not even once. Isn't that right? Quote. You've been abandoned since birth. And you'll probably never receive love in the future either. But I did, even if it was just once. So, even if I die today, I can die with a smile. Oh Hai Seo cannot understand Seo Hai. All she knows is her primal survival instinct. Any emotion beyond that is so faint that she cannot empathize. However, at Seo Hai's words, Oh Hai Seo somehow feels unpleasant. She dislikes what Seo Hai is saying. It's irritating. Therefore, Oh Hai Seo absorbs Seo Hai even faster. As Seo Hai is absorbed into Oh Hai Seo, she smiles meaningfully. You must have chosen this as well, right? Ho, I'll follow you. Someday, we will meet again. It's a cryptic statement, but in any case, the victor is Oh Hai Seo, and the loser is Seo Hai. After completely subduing Seo Hai in the heart essence world, she opens her eyes in his main body. Ah, finally, I've finally returned to my original body. Now, all that's left is. It's then. Oh Hai Seo feels chills running across her entire body. This is. Oh Hai Seo is one who draws upon authority by retracing history. Because of this, she can understand better than anyone present just what is happening in this universe right now. Feeling chills run over her body, Oh Hai Seo looks up towards the sky in the direction of cedarwood painting. Seo Eun-yun, that monstrous bastard, just what in the world are you doing? Seo Eun-yun's history revision is beginning to twist fate. I've been thinking, since long ago until now, why must mortals suffer under fate? In cases like Yi and Wei and Hun Wan, why on earth did they have to endure such pain? Therefore, I want to save them from fate. Fears me, lies often, is vicious, never says anything right, is exhausting because of her paranoia, and yet isn't even particularly helpful in battle as Hu Yi and Wei is. But, despite all that, she is our comrade. Therefore, for my dear Yi and Wei, and for the living beings who can't ascend to the middle realms and will die because of the end, I devised a plan. When the end approaches, I will borrow the power of the end with the phenomena extinguishing mantra to twist the power of fate with the power of history. I aim to twist the calamity of fate placed upon Yi and Wei and Hun Wan, Save the two of them, and prepare for the day I will face Great Mountain and crush the Great Mountain calamity. Yohi laughed mockingly. She said the plan is nearly impossible, and someone like me meddling with history is essentially impossible. And so, I decided to use the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Crystal glass to treading sea. 9 categories form. The 9th form, filling the heavens governing view. When I showed Yohi filling the heavens governing view and explained its effects, she obediently hung herself upside down. Filling the heavens governing view is a form created by melting tainted soul filling the heavens together with the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. GWAKM said this. To escape the fate of the universe's destruction, one must find a sacrifice equivalent to the universe itself to ward off the misfortune. Of course, they also said it would be difficult to find a sacrifice matching the universe. However, for those I wish to save, there exists a sacrifice that fits perfectly. Let's go, Kim Yeon. Kim Yeon nods and activates the wonderfully mysterious fortress. Click, 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 click. Along with that, Yeon's play activates. On top of Yeon's play, I manifest the heart of love using cedarwood. And then, the remnant shadow of the sun and moon heavenly domain, which had been destroyed in a previous life by the Great Mountain Supreme Deity, rises and is manifested through Yeon's play. The fate of Hun Won and Yeon Wei, who had died miserably in the past life, is manifested through Yeon's play. The fate of Su In and Hong Yeon, who had died like discarded trash, is once again manifested. Additionally, the fates of everyone else I sought to save begin to manifest again today. Filling the heavens governing view is a form that turns the entire world into a failure like myself and delivers enlightenment. At the same time, it gathers countless past fates into one, and it manifests misfortune, forcing one to endure the same pain from that time and then twists the fate of reality. That is what filling the heavens governing view is. Do. The yin and yin within Co Whale's grasp. The phenomena extinguishing mantra that I possess. The culmination of these two attraction forces resonates, accelerating the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. Through filling the heavens governing view, I begin to gather the canvas of myriad forms and connections that has spread across the entire world. Amid the hazy mist of the canvas of myriad forms and connections, painful memories from the past resurface. At the same time, those pains are manifested by Yeon's play, forming an artificial misfortune. Through the misfortune thus created, I begin to perform the ritual of the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. The hazy mist compresses into dark clouds and begins to cover the sky. The first to be shrouded are Hun Won and Yeon Wei. Filling the heavens governing view and Yeon's play manifest the two people who had died painfully in the previous cycle. Simultaneously, I begin to turn the wheel. I rewrite. The power of the phenomena extinguishing mantra, the power borrowed through the Sumeru sword dance, and the power of the earth tribe pathways entering nirvana stage are combined. I interfere with history, and, through the wheel, I rewrite. O attraction force of Great Mountain! Thy attraction force is thus fulfilled. Kururururung. By my proclamation, the fate in which Hun Won and Yeon Wei die miserably is now considered, already fulfilled. But at the same time, Hun Won and Yeon Wei do not die. Thus, Great Mountain has no reason to rampage. Pats tst. In front of my eyes, I see a constellation in a distant place. That constellation is bound by an ominous attraction force, and that attraction force is also connected to Hun Won. Be gone, O misfortune of Hun Won! At my resounding cry, the stars of the constellation connected to Hun Won from the distant world begin to explode all at once. Kwang, the prophecy of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity has been fulfilled, yet not fulfilled. Unable to withstand that contradiction, their prophecy explodes as is. At the same time, I feel a chilling, ominous gaze sweeping over me. It must be GWAKM's gaze. However, I withstand their gaze firmly and continue my consciousness. Next are Su In and Hong Yeon. They are the children sacrificed by me. Just then, I sense from Co Whale, who is confronting the hard tribe me, beginning to properly unleash his strength. Desperately, he operates tainted soul filling the heavens for his goal. Chiok, 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 Chiok. Every Co Whale in the universe begins to laugh simultaneously and starts to consume themselves. Wing. At the same time, the brainwashing waves of the consumed Co Whales, empowered by the attraction force of the end, begin heading towards the head realm. Although, unlike Co Unyun's 998th cycle, he was unable to brainwash everything in the sun and moon heavenly domain, including the blood yin. Co Whale trusts in the Attraction force of vast cold and pours everything he has into the head realm. Martial artist Seo Eun-yun remains before him, glaring at Seo Whale who is overseeing his plan. As the end draws near, the attraction force of vast cold surrounding Seo Whale grows so powerful it feels like an entirely different dimension, to the point martial artist Seo Eun-yun can no longer interfere. However, Seo Eun-yun does not appear tense. As if he still has a move left. He simply sits there, observing Seo Whale's actions. Seo Whale appears like a conductor. It's as if he rules over all the stars of the universe, pouring his everything solely into the head realm. And finally, all of Seo Whale's brainwashing waves eventually reach the head realm. Wing, flash, ascension path. Following Seo Whale's command, the brainwashing waves tear apart the ascension gate and pour directly into the head realm. Seo Eun-yun's gaze also focuses on the head realm from the outside. The form of the head realm resembles a decaying, tattered skull of someone long dead. Chunks of flesh are stuck haphazardly on the skull, making it difficult to see inside, and it seems as though a pair of overturned eyeballs are staring inward. The neural networks of the two eyeballs grotesquely flow down outside the skull. That is the form of the head realm. And the brainwashing waves driven into the ascension gate become embedded into the Baihui point of the head realm. Seo Eun-yun understands why Seo Whale had taken control of the powerful cities or regions within the head realm that uses immortal treasures. Ascension Gate, Baihui Point, Black Castle. The brainwashing waves, drawn by the attraction force of Yang Su Jin's steel at the Ascension Gate, amplify significantly due to that attraction force and descend beneath Ascension Path, embedding themselves into the Black Castle. Once again, the brainwashing waves amplify. Black Castle, the center of the upper dantian, the pituitary gland. Serving Command Palace. Simultaneously, under Seo Whale's will, the Serving Command Palace reveals itself in the head realm. Serving Command Palace begins operating at maximum output, quickly moving from the northern end of the head realm. Seo Whale's brainwashing waves are embedded in the Serving Command seal at the center of Serving Command Palace. Once again, Seo Whale's brainwashing waves amplify. And, the Serving Command Palace, carrying Seo Whale's brainwashing waves, begins moving across the head realm. It seems to be rotating around the head realm once. Serving Command Palace. The circulation within the upper dantian. Then, the Sea Dragon Palace would be the forehead. Isn't that right? A spell that enters through the Baihui point, circles through the upper dantian, and exits through the forehead. A method that clears the mind. A spell Seo Whale has planned since a long time ago to awaken the head realm. It is a spell Seo Eun-yun had seen across the head realm and also experienced firsthand under Seo Whale. This simple yet powerful mind-clearing spell begins activating within the head realm. Seo Whale remains silent. He seems to be manipulating the brainwashing waves with a once-in-a-lifetime focus. And the heart tribe Seo Eun-yun begins to disappear from Seo Whale's sight. He is returning to his main body. After all, with filling the heavens governing view activated and history revision already underway, there is nothing more he can achieve through martial arts. He beat up Seo Whale as much as he desired. And he has already completed planting within him everything that is needed. There is no longer any need for him to remain here. Martial artist Seo Eun-yun looks back at Seo Whale and smiles. Quote, I will return soon. Let us meet again. Seo ran. Chapter 532. Filling the Heavens Mantien 6. Ohai Seo understands that the history of the entire world is being twisted and that Seo Eun-yun has severed something entangled with Hun Won and Yin Wei. And in that moment, she feels an overwhelming killing intent engulf her. Shiver. This is the place she looks at in shock. There, Hun Won is standing. Kudik, kudududuk. Hun Won clenches and unclenches his fist, as if confirming something. Seeing this, Ohai Seo realizes that her instincts are sounding a fierce alarm. However, she doesn't show it outwardly and raises several immortal beast forms around her. At the Grand Perfection integration stage, with her sights already set on the star-shattering stage, she smirks. Grand Cultivator Hun, what are you doing? Grand Cultivator is a hostage, so you should quietly. In the next moment, Quadududuk, Hun Won's fist is suddenly right in front of her, striking her head directly. Kwang, Ohai Seo screams in agony, as if her integrated Dao domain is being torn apart, and she is sent flying several jong away. With an expression close to panic, she stares at Hun Won. I was defending myself using the power of the Yin Ghost Black Turtle, and yet, the form of an immortal beast. The form of the immortal beast Yin Ghost Black Turtle that is specialized in defense at that, was shattered in one strike, and I was sent flying. Hun Wen cracks his knuckles as he speaks. I thought you were just some mongrel bitch, but this is unexpected. I intended to kill you with that blow, yet you endured it. Oh Hai Seo, feeling a strong instinctive warning, opens her mouth. You've regained your cultivation. Would it just be that? Hun Wen sneers. Goo. Forgotten memories. Twisted spiritual veins. The pride of the Penglai Palace Lord. I've reclaimed them all. However, despite having regained everything, he does not look happy. Instead, Hun Wen grits his teeth and sheds tears of blood. It's so miserable that I can't even speak. Oh Hai Seo's eyeballs dart around. If I lose him, Seo Weil's plan will fall apart. Because the soul inside him needs to create attraction force. If I lose him, and Seo Weil fails. Then Seo Eun-yun will come to devour me again, right? No, I can't endure being trapped in something as horrifying as Seo Eun-yun's stomach again. Oh Hai Seo grinds her teeth and raises several immortal beast forms around her. Enough with the bothersome words and just obediently become a captive. Warurururu. The wingbeats of the white-winged heavenly Pegasus engulf all phenomena in flames. The royal palace Seo Weil built on the lofty dragon star begins to burn, and flames ignite on Hun Wen's body as well. This is the fire of an immortal beast. Now then, let's. At that moment, Hun Wen takes a stance. At the same time, the prison of Yin Yang and 5 elements envelops Oh Hai Seo. Good devil energy surges in both of Hun Wen's hands. Oh Hai Seo feels an intense threat of death and realizes she must escape the prison of Yin Yang and 5 elements as quickly as possible. Wu Wang. A Taiji symbol begins to spin around Oh Hai Seo. However, despite the Taiji's rotation, the prison of Yin Yang and 5 elements created by Hun Wen does not break. Not just the 5 elements, but even Yin and Yang itself. She immediately understands the cause of this phenomenon. Resonance. Hun Wen's method is resonating with the entire universe. Why, this is. Seo Eun-yun's phenomena extinguishing mantra is currently being unfolded on a universal scale. That mantra is resonating with Hun Wen's Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique, elevating Hun Wen's power to his peak state. Great Mountain Tai Shan. Oh Hai Seo's body begins to assimilate with the Yin Yang and 5 elements. With a sensation of her mind going blank, she pushes the power of the immortal beasts to their utmost with all her strength. Splitting Emperor, Lai Di. Countless forms of immortal beasts rise to protect her. However, with a sinking feeling in her chest, she realizes the truth about Hun Wen's attack. This attack is at the quasi-star shattering stage. She cannot block it. In the next moment, every immortal beast form surrounding her is shredded apart. Oh Hai Seo's body is torn into 7 pieces, and her integrated Tao domain is violently ripped apart as she is hurled deep into the underground depths of the lofty dragon star, unconscious. Hun Wen, having rendered Oh Hai Seo unconscious, slowly turns around. Splurt. Blood gushes from his mouth. Damn it. The single strike just now cost him all his cultivation and every drop of his true origin vital energy. Hun Wen, too, is now on the verge of death. For someone who still has a significant amount of lifespan left, an observer might call him insane. But Hun Wen doesn't care and steps into the burning palace of the sea dragon race. There lies Yin Wei's body, thrown aside by the aftermath of the battle between Oh Hai Seo and Hun Wen. Is it perhaps because it's the body used as a vessel to contain the attraction force of vast cold? Yin Wei's soul has already been drawn by that attraction force to the golden divine heavenly thunder sect's shrine and placed into the body crafted by Seo Eun-yun. Hun Wen, slowly, approaches Yin Wei, and embraces her. Wei ah. What is this, Hun Wen? Yin Wei slowly looks up at Hun Wen and speaks. Have I also gone senile? At those words, Hun Wen gently strokes Yin Wei's black and white hair. Warururu. The royal palace of Seo Weil, engulfed in the flames of an immortal beast, begins to collapse. Burning debris from the building falls above Hun Wen. However, Hun Wen neither uses spells to block it nor heals his body. Instead, he simply endures the collapsing building with his body while focusing all his efforts on extending Yin Wei's fleeting lifespan by even a few more seconds using the immortal art sunshine of the immortal art various omens. The one who went senile, was I. You trash bastard. Yin Wei spits out venomous words. You are trash. So vile and rotten that it was impossible to feel satisfied with you. Yi Wei glares at Hun Wen and unleashes a torrent of curses. When I heard I was to enter into a political marriage with you, I felt so nauseated that I even considered suicide. It was an engagement devoid of emotion, made solely for the safety of my golden divine heavenly thunder sect. When I betrayed you, I thought it actually turned out great. The sense of liberation was so overwhelming I felt like I could fly. Rather than marrying an idiot and ugly man like you, I preferred to bring in brighter and more handsome children to have relations with. My descendant, Yi Jin, is one of the offspring from such men. Do you remember when I plucked your eye out last time? Your eye, I boiled it into a tonic and drank it. It wasn't even tasty. Why are you still here? Get lost, you retard. What, if I die here, will you turn my corpse into some kind of pill? I'm going to die here today as well, Wei Ah. Hun Wen smiles warmly as he continues to embrace Yi Wei. I detonated my true origin vital energy and crushed the subordinate woman of the bastard who captured us. I, too, after tonight, will die. From the extinction of my true origin. As if someone who can resurrect. All the life force and soul force I have for resurrection are being spent on the immortal art to extend your lifespan. Once I die, likely not even a leftover will remain. What kind of insane nonsense are you spewing? Why are you doing such a thing? Someone like you can't defy the celestial energy to extend someone else's lifespan. That's something only a sacred master can do. Even if you extend it, do you think my lifespan will increase by even a moment? What is your reason for this? At Yi Wei's furious shout, Hun Wen gently strokes her hair. A single tear falls from Hun Wen's eye. Because, even if it's just a little longer, I want to hold you. Ha. At those words, Yi Wei tightly shuts her eyes. Then, with trembling hands, she raises them to cover her face. Slowly, she begins to sob. Hun Wen also sheds tears. I'm sorry, Yi Wei. The one existence I've loved all this time, yes. Qian Ra, in the end, was you. I'm sorry. A short and insincere apology. Yet, with those short and insincere words, Yi Wei feels the resentment of the past 45,000 years gently melt away. Kurururun. As the royal palace collapses, one of its main beams falls onto Hun Wen's waist. Flames spread across Hun Wen's body. Yet, Hun Wen continues to use protective spells and the lifespan extending immortal art solely on Yi Wei. Yi Wei slowly rises from her spot. Both are drained of energy, their lifespans nearly depleted, but now it is Hun Wen who is lying down. Even as he lies down, he holds onto Yi Wei's body, infusing immortal art, energy, and protective barriers into her. Wei Ah, Sirwerk. Hun Wen's rough hand brushes against Yi Wei's cheek. At last, I've found you. Wei Ah, my Wei Ah. Hun Wen's eyes gradually lose focus. Death is approaching. However, neither of them shows any sign of sadness. Yi Wei sheds tears while smiling. Just why did you come all the way here? If it's you, you could have just left me behind and lived. You foolish person. I wanted to see your smiling face, one last time, before I die. So, and, with you, I wanted to go, together, on the same day, same time. Long ago, we even exchanged the vast cold oath, didn't we? I've told you so many times. That was just a forgotten, useless tradition. It was just a joke. But even as Yi Wei sheds tears, she does not lose her smile. Because Hun Wen said he wanted to see her smile. And that is enough. You're the one who could pray to Xiao Unyun for help and live. Why aren't you doing that? I've lived long enough. And, Yi Wei hugs Hun Wen tightly and closes her eyes. There's nothing more that I wish for in my life. She smiles. It is the most peaceful and liberated smile she has ever worn. Warurururu. Kwang. Finally, the palace completely collapses. Yi Wei and Hun Wen burn together amidst the ruins. The two whose lifespans have come to an end hold hands as they turn to ashes in the flames. A pair of lovers had their fate toyed with by the will of a true immortal. But through one move by Xiao Unyun, they finally broke free from fate. There might have been ways for them to live longer, but neither chose such methods. Perhaps, it's because they don't expect a moment more precious and rare than this one to ever come again in their lifetime. The separated lovers, thus reduced to ashes by the flame, become one as they turn into soil. Hun Wen and Yi Wei, having reached the conclusion they desired most, die overwhelmed with happiness. And, from within the ashes, two clumps of light rise. Ku-gu-gu-gu-gu. The serving command palace is rotating around the head realm. Having already completed half a rotation around the head realm, the serving command palace is spreading immense brainwashing waves across the entire world. And all of a sudden, around those brainwashing waves, a single clump of light rises. At the same time, on a planet within the astral realm, another clump of light appears before Xiao Wei'ol, who is commanding all the brainwashing waves. The souls of Su In and Hong Yian. It is the legacy of vast cold within Xiao Wei'ol's grasp. With his eyes gleaming, Xiao Wei'ol grips tightly the attraction force that fills all of heaven and earth. The attraction force of the end completely envelops Xiao Wei'ol. You cannot stop me, Xiao Unyun. Xiao Wei'ol also witnessed the recent history revision and the liberation of Hun Wan and Yian Wei through it. But he is not concerned. Such a revision is impossible again. Even history revision has its limits. One is in the head realm. The other is in my hand. Yet you dare interfere with the head realm and believe you can seize both souls. Wo Wang. Xiao Wei'ol even more violently squeezes the attraction force from the spirit bodies of the two souls and declares, "This is my victory." Meanwhile, the three aspects of Xiao Unyun, gathered on cedarwood painting, unite into one. Heaven, earth, heart. Now that one has become entering nirvana, there is a difference in their cultivation realms, making it impossible to use the three great ultimates. But Xiao Unyun doesn't concern himself with such things. He recalls a scene from the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Wo Wang. The children called Su In and Hong Yian. It is the scene of them dying tragically that day. Chapter 533. Severing Heaven. Duan Tian 1. Do you both swear to love each other from now on? It's an old vow. Yet, it still remains vividly in my heart. Because that was the day when my canvas of myriad forms and connections was completed. Yes, from now on, I will be Yian's legs. From now on, I will be Su In's eyes. As they were dying, the two children who had asked me to officiate their union because I had treated them a little kindly are now being toyed with in Xiao Wei'ol's grasp. I begin to bloom a flower of consolidation filled with sincerity for those children. Pasasasasik. Across the sun and moon heavenly domain scattered with the canvas of myriad forms and connections, the white orchid blessing incantation begins to bloom. In the next life as well, may the love between the two of you continue. Yes, thank you. Really, truly, the figures of the two lovers who smiled brightly at me. Thank you for your kindness. Then, from that image, light bursts forth. As the canvas of myriad forms and connections trembles, the pain I and those children felt at that moment surges around Xiao Wei'ol. At the same time, I rewrite, flash, the reality of that time, when I had blessed the two, once again manifests in this world. The reality manifested by Yian's play covers the sky, and my wheel turns, twisting history. At the same time, the two souls extracted by Xiao Wei'ol, one in the head realm and the other in Xiao Wei'ol's grasp. Their misfortune distorts. Flash, you were not caught by Xiao Wei'ol. You lived happily together for 100 years, and as you lived as such, you died as such. Wasn't that so? Quagwagwagwang. A massive explosion erupts in the plane of fate. History is being rewritten. At the same time, immense pain washes over me, but I endure. And, the expression on Xiao Wei'ol's face is quite a sight to behold. Xiao Yun, has there ever been a time when my name burst so urgently from Xiao Wei'ol's mouth? Probably not. I see a single light pink clump of light emerging from the center of the explosion. Wing, one soul from the head realm, due to the rewriting of history, is spinning and soaring away from Xiao Wei'ol's grasp. The reality that has already been connected by me becomes engraved upon the world. Simultaneously, I realize an overwhelming power is enveloping the universe. The souls of Su In and Hong Yian become one, as if they had been one from the beginning. From somewhere distant, the scent of peach blossoms begins to drift. In an instant, I arrive at a place resembling a peach garden paradise filled with peach blossom trees. And from behind a massive peach blossom tree, I hear someone laughing. Sarek. From behind the peach blossom tree, someone's finger emerges. Immediately after, I feel chills running across my entire body. This is vast cold. In such a situation, the only being likely to appear is the vast cold heavenly lord. However, I cannot help but tremble, not at the being itself, but at the authority on an entirely different level emanating from them. Someday, let's meet. I hear something like the voices of children in my ears. It is a voice that seems to combine the voices of Su In and Hong Yian. Is it because their souls have been one from the beginning, or is it because I blessed them this time? For some reason, I feel as though the next time I meet them, they will be as a single entity. It's then I shall answer your goodwill with goodwill. A voice so moving that it stirs my heart just by hearing it flows rapidly into the depths of my chest. And I perceive an immense power welling up from within my dantian. This is vast cold heavenly circle. The vast cold heavenly circle I acquired before is resonating madly. The vast cold heavenly circle, imbued with the enlightenment that all is due to the 4 seasons and 4 cycles, that the 4 seasons and 4 cycles are alive, and that through them, the entire world is alive, envelops me with dazzling rays of light. This is heavenly circle. In front of my eyes, I briefly see a sky filled with peach blossom petals. I feel Kim Yi-en shaking my shoulder urgently. It seems I momentarily fainted, unable to withstand the blessing of vast cold. I understood the nature of vast cold's blessing. The blessing is simple in its effect. It's merely, I shall answer your goodwill with goodwill. The goodwill I have shown this world is returned to me in the form of an equivalent, rank. Kurururung, heavenly tribulation begins to gather around me. Not the earth tribe pathway, but the cultivation of the heaven tribe pathway begins resonating with the power of the vast cold heavenly circle. At the same time, I feel the red giant star of the heaven tribe pathway being compressed. In an instant, the star transforms into a white dwarf, and I can feel it continuing to rise in rank. To have goodwill returned is equivalent in rank. I smile faintly. Truly, the strongest heavenly lord. My plan begins to enter its latter half. Xiao Wei's brainwashing wave, no longer supported by the attraction force of vast cold, visibly weakens and begins to falter. At this level, awakening the head realm seems utterly impossible. But I can't afford to let my guard down. Wait for me. After completing the final ritual, I will save you. The canvas of myriad forms and connections illuminates the universe. The true reason for scattering the canvas of myriad forms and connections across the entire universe is not merely to erode Xiao Wei, but this. To this universe, to all the living beings of the universe, to all the pitiful souls who cannot even ascend to the middle realms. To give them a chance. Wu Wang, the universe rising within the canvas of myriad forms and connections begins to compress gradually. Phenomena extinguishing mantra, the end of the universe I had once witnessed now begins to unfold before my eyes. The attraction force of vast cold has disappeared, but the sun and moon heavenly domain already stands on the verge of cosmic contraction, saturated with vast cold's attraction force. If left alone, the sun and moon heavenly domain will be completely annihilated. The countless living beings who have not ascended to the middle realms will face the ends of their lives here and now. Yi-en's play manifests the space-time of that moment. The manifested spacetime is visible only to me. Because if ordinary people were to witness this, they would have no choice but to go mad. The sight of the universe collapsing into a single point and perishing. I use that sight entirely as the misfortune for the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique, spinning the wheel furiously. Though the scene is invisible to everyone but me, perhaps the aura can still be felt. The sacred masters and esteemed ones, led by sacred master Baek Woon, are unleashing an unprecedentedly fierce attack on cedarwood painting. Kurururung, heaven and earth tremble, and the entire bright cold realm moves, striking cedarwood painting. It's not just the bright cold realm. Ancient force realm, true devil realm, and purple gold realm. The 4 middle realms themselves are moving, violently shaking cedarwood painting as if driven mad. Even if it's an artificial middle realm, if the real middle realms themselves continue to launch attacks, it won't take long before it shatters. Moreover, I notice a presence infiltrating cedarwood painting and brightly bare my white teeth. It's been a while, master. Good. It's Jang Ik. Jang Ik smiles with eyes blazing like ghost fire. The preparations are complete. Come at me. Apologies, but right now. Without another word, Jang Ik immediately launches an attack. Kwang. Collapsing immortals annihilating heaven strikes directly at my head. But I simply smile and look at Jang Ik. Jang Ik wears an overwhelmed expression. Quote. You blocked that with your teeth. This crazy bastard. That's right. Now, even Jang Ik's greatest decisive technique, collapsing immortals annihilating heavens, is something I can casually block by biting down with my teeth. Well, fine. Jang Ik's gaze sharpens as he floats 4 padows into the void. Since petty techniques don't seem like they'd work, I'll just show you directly. Keying. The 4 padows merge into one. In an instant, pot. I understand why Jang Ik hadn't shown this decisive technique until now. The end. It was a technique meant to face the end itself. Everything in front of me turns green. Yes, Jang Ik intended to test his fighting spirit against the end of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain. I honor his madness-filled fighting will and face him with the ultimate decisive move I have been perfecting all this time. In the next moment, a green flash engulfs the entirety of cedarwood painting. The sacred masters grit their teeth and continue hammering cedarwood painting with the middle realms as if driven mad. Jang Ik has gone in. Since that one has decided to risk his life, an opening will appear. Baek Woon shouts frantically with a pale white face as she continues to strike cedarwood painting. But suddenly, flash, a green light seems to briefly fill cedarwood painting, and then silence falls within. Seeing this, Baek Woon's face lights up. Did Jang Ik succeed? Is it over? Immediately after, the faces of Baek Woon and the sacred masters distort once again. Wu Wang, it's because from within cedarwood painting, Seo Eun-yun emerges with a pale and uneasy complexion. Baek Woon grits her teeth and begins drawing upon the power of the bright cold realm. Fine, you monstrous bastard. Since it has come to this, we will stake our lives as well. Seo Eun-yun spreads his arms wide with a mocking smile. It's already too late. At that moment, brilliantly resplendent rays of light erupt from around Seo Eun-yun's body. Jang Ike's single strike was truly terrifying. However, he could not surpass me. It wasn't purely because of my martial arts realm. But, this time, I don't feel ashamed to have lost purely in martial arts. Because upon these shoulders rests the entire Sun and Moon heavenly domain. Go, go, koo-goo-goo-goo-goo-goo. The wheel spins faster than ever before. Drawing upon all the authority of cedarwood painting, I shout. I rewrite. At the very moment when the scene of the universe contracting into a single point and perishing appears here in the Sun and Moon heavenly domain. With all my strength, I collide with the fate of the end. O fate of the end! Thy coming is already fulfilled. Ding! From where could it be? The sound of a Brahma bell rings out. At the same time, an overwhelming light explodes across the entire Sun and Moon heavenly domain, which had been accelerating towards the end under my phenomena extinguishing mantra. The entire world seems to shake violently. Instinctively, I realize that I have twisted the very providence of the universe itself. Ha! Ha ha ha! Seo Wei-ol stares at the result of my efforts with a dumbfounded expression. My comrades read the celestial energy and wear bright expressions. The sacred masters, in shock, send me transmissions like crazy. At last, it has been achieved. The end of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain has been deferred. The attraction force that had been contracting the universe reverses as providence has overturned, and expansion begins anew. Not a single living being in the Sun and Moon heavenly domain has been sacrificed to the end. We have succeeded in saving them all. Now, only one task remains. I look at Seo Wei-ol, who is clutching the head realm and squeezing out every last bit of his strength, and begin the final phase of my plan. I will save you, too. Seo Wei-ol, Wu Wang. With that, Seo Wei-ol's image appears within my canvas of myriad forms and connections. It's the Seo Wei-ol who, in the past life, charged into the head realm, achieved his goal, and turned into a blue earthworm. Chapter 534. Severing Heaven, Duan Tian 2. Don't make me laugh. Seo Wei-ol mutters with an unusually angry expression, staring at where I stand. Who do you think you are, to do such a thing to me? Wing. Seo Wei-ol's tainted soul filling the heavens begins to operate even faster and more vigorously. Finally, Serving Command Palace completes a full orbit around the head realm. Wu Wang. Once again, Seo Wei-ol's brainwashing wave amplifies. However, it hardly constitutes a speck compared to what I witnessed in my past life. The amplified brainwashing wave heads straight to the southern end of the head realm. Towards the Sea Dragon Palace. Sea Dragon Palace. Sea Dragon Palace. The forehead. Seo Wei-ol's entire tainted soul filling the heavens begins rushing urgently towards the forehead of the head realm. Even though he knows that it is impossible with this level of brainwashing wave, he forces himself to operate tainted soul filling the heavens. He is feeling it, too. It's not just because he's lost his judgment due to my filling the heavens governing views erosion. It's because an intense sense of crisis is driving him to bet everything on an unwinnable gamble. Even though what is inside my canvas of myriad forms and connection can be manifested through Yian's play, others cannot see it. They can only vaguely sense that something is there. Yes, it cannot be seen, but it can be roughly felt. Seo Wei-ol can feel the rewriting of history itself that will lead to the ominous history of his existence being reduced to a worm. Your defeat was inevitable from the start, Seo Wei-ol. So, the only thing I can do for him is Rewrite this grim future, to sever it with my own hands. The image of Co Whale that appears on the canvas of myriad forms and connections shines brightly as it begins manifesting through Ian's play. Simultaneously, the manifested spacetime condenses, and once again, I manifest the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique based upon that misfortune. Wing, I begin to turn the wheel. This is the last time. So far, I have invoked rewriting a total of 3 times. Hun Wan and Yian Wei. Su In and Hong Yian. And the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. Why was it in this specific order? If urgency was the priority, shouldn't the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain have been prevented first? The reason is that there is a limit to the history I can rewrite with my own hands. Twisting the fate of Hun Wan and Yian Wei to grant those two even a slightly better conclusion was the maximum extent of rewriting I could achieve. However, history is fundamentally an explosion. It is also life and the foundation that forms what we know as qi. That's why, once the first explosion occurred, history had no choice but to shake. I used the tectonic shift of history to trigger a chain explosion to rewrite the fate of vast cold's attraction force, which is on a completely different rank than Hun Wan and Yian Wei. Then, through the tectonic shift caused by the rewrite of Su In and Hong Yian, I rewrote the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. And, through the tectonic shift caused by delaying the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain itself, I now aim to rewrite an even grander history. Wu Wang, the head realm. I stare at the place where the head realm lies. Unlike when my cultivation was lower, looking at the head realm no longer feels painful or overwhelming. Though I still feel an indescribable and ominous sense of dread, it doesn't make me lose consciousness like before. While it's difficult to clearly observe the inner situation, the heavenly being grand elders of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect within the head realm have been reporting the situation to Jaeon Myonghun and me. Hence, I know, to shake the head realm, it must at least match the aftermath of shaking the sun and moon heavenly domain. Still, I honestly feel uneasy. Will this kind of rewrite even work on the head realm? Will it really be enough? When my wheel becomes able to rewrite history through the change in history, I develop a sense to recognize it. I can roughly tell whether it will succeed or fail. However, even as I directly feel the aftermath of saving the sun and moon heavenly domain, I realize that such a sense isn't forming. Even now, the head realm feels so vast and distant that my strength alone seems difficult to rewrite it. But suddenly, at that moment, pot, ku-gu-gu-gu-gu-gu, the formula of the vast cold heavenly circle begins to surge as if alive, rampaging madly. What is this? I am stunned by the power of the vast cold heavenly circle boiling within me as if trying to explode, and I try to suppress the explosive force. But it cannot be suppressed. The power of the vast cold heavenly circle surges terrifyingly. I understand why this is happening. Vast cold's blessing. It's the blessing I received from vast cold's lingering will when I saved An and Yian. And in accordance with that blessing, the goodwill I showed to the sun and moon heavenly domain is now being returned to me. Wait, but I can't help but feel horrified. This is too much. My cultivation realm begins to rise uncontrollably. The grand perfection sacred vessel stage cultivation of the heaven tribe begins to pierce through the ceiling. At this rate, either cedarwood painting will suffer damage, or my body will just explode. Now, there is only one way to prevent that from happening. I must perform the entering nirvana advancement ritual, right now. Of course, advancing to the entering nirvana stage usually takes some time. However, seeing my realm surge like this, I realize I can ignore the usual procedures and time constraints to advance directly to entering nirvana. Although advancing means I will become separated from cedarwood painting. It doesn't matter. The power of a sacred master was only necessary for the situation moments ago when I had to save the entire universe. I originally needed the power of cedarwood painting to resonate my canvas of myriad forms and connections with the entirety of the sun and moon heavenly domain. Currently, when I only need to focus the canvas of myriad forms and connections on the head realm, the power of cedarwood painting is no longer essential. Instead, what I need now might be an even higher realm. Wu Wang. As I rise to the grand perfection sacred vessel stage, I realize that the 8 paths have been fully completed. And, above the 8 paths, I add one more. The average success rate for sacred vessel sacred masters advancing to the entering nirvana stage is 40%. This is because the advancement to the entering nirvana stage is that straightforward. The formula for the entering nirvana stage is royal perfection. By adding royal perfection to the 8 paths completed during the sacred vessel stage to form the 9 palaces, Zhugong one achieves the entering nirvana stage. Quorarararik. I recall the formula of royal perfection. What is royal perfection? It can be interpreted as a virtue a ruler must possess, or perhaps the disposition of a ruler. It determines the ruler's direction. And when royal perfection is added to the 8 paths, the authority that has manipulated fate and life up until now, the cultivator completes their very own immortal art. I half open my eyes. I have already determined the direction I must take. Therefore, all that remains is to complete crystal glass to treading sea. Pot. As I begin to operate crystal glass to treading sea, an immense sea of glass swords emerges around cedarwood painting from the aftermath. Qua. The blessing of goodwill given by vast cold aligns perfectly with what my crystal glass to treading sea has been pursuing, allowing it to grow rapidly and gradually shed the framework of a mere cultivation method. Through crystal glass to treading sea, which was once merely the starting point of an immortal art, I now obtain a true immortal art. Pot. Crystal glass to treading sea becomes clearer, clearer, and clearer still, until it suddenly reaches a state so transparent that even a cultivator's consciousness domain would struggle to perceive it. And at last, when my authority reaches its peak. Flash. I finally complete the immortal art of crystal glass to treading sea once more. My immortal art, which had roughly taken shape during my advancement through the Earth Tribe pathway, becomes even clearer and more cohesive as I advance through the Heaven Tribe pathway. At the same time, a volcanic surge of momentum erupts within me. The advancement tribulation of the entering nirvana stage begins. Kururururung. By the time one reaches the entering nirvana stage, the level of heaven and earth spiritual energy generated within one's body surpasses imagination. Thus, from the entering nirvana stage onward, the form of heavenly tribulations completely transforms. Whereas before, one would withstand heavenly tribulations. Starting from the entering nirvana stage, one must cast down heavenly tribulations. Kurururung. It feels as though the dragon vein within me is boiling over, and the laws of the sun and moon heavenly domain begin to extract something from within me. It is a star tribulation. Completely opposite from the star-shattering stage, the advancement tribulation for the entering nirvana stages involves extracting the star tribulation from within oneself and embedding it into all the stars across the entire heavenly domain. I am being squeezed dry. Some law governing the heavenly tribulation is ringing me like crazy. As the star tribulation is squeezed and squeezed, eventually, all the true origin within a true person's body becomes hollowed out, leading to death. Enduring this process is the advancement ritual for entering nirvana, and because of the star tribulation bestowment ritual, those advancing to entering nirvana take thousands of years to complete the advancement ritual. They shoot out star tribulation in intervals of years. But I have no need for that. Kugugugugu. It's because the wave of volcanic authority stemming from vast cold's blessing surges out from my entire being, spreading wildly to the stars of the universe. The law of heavenly tribulation is relentlessly wringing out my power. It squeezes me so fiercely that, for a fleeting moment, I see the illusion of a soft foot before my eyes. I must not lose consciousness. I focus my mind and take out the dusk talisman I received from Banta. Wo Wang. A powerful contracting force controls my star tribulation, preventing the power within me from instantly dissipating into emptiness. Of course, despite this, the terrifying power inside me continues to be squeezed outwards. However, the blessing of vast cold withstands this immense wringing and widely scatters the star tribulation across the entire sun and moon heavenly domain. As trillions, quadrillions of star tribulations are wrung out of me in an instant, I finally reach the realm of heaven and earth dual cultivation of the entering nirvana stage. Kugugugugu. The entire universe is connected to the star tribulation extracted from my body. The reason beings at the entering nirvana stage can manipulate starlight across thousands of light years is precisely because the star tribulation drawn from their bodies remains connected to the stars of the world. Wo Wang. I smile at the flow of immortal art coursing through my body. This immortal art does not yet have a name. However, it is clear that the immortal art obtained through crystal glass to treading sea suits me well. I gaze upon my body, now separated from cedarwood painting. Kugugugugu. My body has become a complete white dwarf star. Although it is said that in the sacred vessel stage, one creates fixed stars, red giants, and white dwarfs, sacred vessels fundamentally lack any substance. The stars they create are merely effects granted by their realm, and cannot truly be called physical bodies. The main bodies of sacred vessels are better described as the attraction force, orbiting stars, red giants, white dwarfs, and other celestial bodies. However, now that immortal art resides within my body, the white dwarf star I had created has become my physical body. No, to be precise. Wo Wang. I spin the white dwarf star. As it rotates, its form begins to change. It would instantly return to being a fixed star, then transform into another planet, sometimes becoming a black hole in the universe, and at other times taking the form of a blue giant, or even a black dwarf or a brown dwarf. Wing. I can now also project my main body and create planetary clones. This is what Yohi calls troubled star, and is the foundation for her spells. Kuguguging. In the vast expanse of space, I transform my body in the combat technique form. The glass true fire of crystal glass to treading sea wraps around my body, forming winged garments. I look at cedarwood painting before me and at the planets and stars surrounding it. My combat technique form is now so massive that its sheer size approaches that of a fixed star. With the brute force of my physical body alone, I can now shatter stars and kill star-shattering stage cultivators. Wing. A halo of Taiji appears behind my head. During the heavenly being stage, the alignment of heaven, earth, and heart was required for the three great ultimates to appear. Editor. Three great ultimates is literally written as San 3 Taiji. But now at the entering nirvana stage, the form of Taiji seems to manifest simply through heaven and earth dual cultivation. However, this form of Taiji doesn't seem to produce the overwhelming amplification of power achieved by the three great ultimates. Of course, it doesn't really matter. I briefly savor the sensation of reaching the entering nirvana stage. Cultivators, in fact, harbor many misconceptions. They believe that accumulating the cultivation of heaven and earth to reach the plane of fate is the method to becoming a true immortal. However, this is a massive misunderstanding. Reaching the plane of fate actually refers to the realm of entering nirvana. More specifically, the entering nirvana for heaven tribe cultivators. Earth tribe cultivators in the entering nirvana stage do not reach the plane of fate but instead gain control of the plane of chi. Controlling a plane. This is the very precursor to becoming a true immortal, the quasi-immortal. From there, advancing to the true immortal realm through a specific ritual and attaining an immortal rank is what is known as true immortality. For this reason, many already consider those at the entering nirvana stage to be part of true immortality. This is what defines the entering nirvana stage. Wo Wang. With the halo of Taiji shining behind my head, I extend my finger towards Seo Weol, who is rushing towards his goal in the distance. The canvas of myriad forms and connections spreads across the head realm. It's possible. As an entering nirvana, I can vaguely sense that it is possible to alter Seo Weol's history. Yet, because this is the head realm, the odds remain 50-50. Will you succeed, or will I save you? Today, the ill-fated connection between you and I will find its resolution. I issue a command to the stars connected to the star vein emanating from me. In the name of a quasi-immortal, I declare, let the stars of the nations hear me. Chapter 535. Severing Heaven, Duan Tian 3. Kugugugugu. The starlight of the sun and moon heavenly domain begins to shift. The scene of Seo Weol brainwashing the stars through tainted soul filling the heavens first appears, followed by the entering nirvana persons in blood. Yin. And then, it's the ability that Yohi had displayed. As I control the starlight connected to me, I realize one thing. The range of the star vein formation I can control is overwhelmingly greater than other entering nirvanas. Indeed, if the range of a star vein formation that an average entering nirvana quasi-immortal can construct were said to be 10, the range I can construct reaches about 60 or 70. Far more stars submit to my command. Good, let's go. Carrying the hope on countless stars, I project that scene onto the canvas of myriad forms and connections. From the moment Seo Weol's plan was formulated in the past life, to the scene where he brainwashes the head realm. The scene Seo ran tragically perishes, empowered by Seo Weol's plan. And immediately after, the scene where Seo Weol's history is rewritten and he meets a miserable end. Yian's play assists me as I once again unfold the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. Yururum. I deceive the world within extinguishing divine tribulating heavens and draw upon the power of the fiercely rotating wheel. The star vein formation supports me. With more caution than in any previous rewrite, I offer my past as a sacrifice to extinguishing divine tribulating heavens and begin to twist history. I rewrite. Do. Even as a quasi-immortal, using an immortal art targeting the head realm requires utmost caution. After all, in the previous cycle, I saw 3 governing immortals that had been crushed and turned into middle realms. Someone like me could not dare use anything excessive against such a terrifying existence. I must not overreach. I must not hope for Seo Weol's grand plan to succeed and for him to return alive after conversing with the head realm. Nor can I blindly hope for Seo Weol to fail within the head realm. All I must do is create the utmost justification for Co Whale's failure. If I interfere with the head realm beyond that, even I don't know what might happen to myself. Oh Co Whale, I do not interfere with the fate of the head realm. Instead, I rewrite the history of the being known as Co Whale. May thee realize the heart within thyself. Thump. In the depths of Co Whale's grand plan, the arrangements that Co Ran and I had planted until now begin to awaken. Now, realize it, Co Whale. What I interfered with is neither Co Whale's fate nor the fate of the head realm. Rather, I twisted history just enough so that Co Whale can properly see the sincerity Genshin hidden deep within his own heart. Just when the brainwashing wave reaches the Sea Dragon Palace. Flash. From one point within Co Whale's brainwashing wave, a resplendently brilliant beam of light bursts forth. The beam of light takes the form of a six-tailed fox and howls atop the brainwashing wave. The spirit body of the four-axis stage Shiho begins to howl fiercely, disrupting Co Whale's brainwashing wave. Shattered and scattered across the universe through tainted soul filling the heavens, Shiho gained the justification to return through Co Unyun's history revision. Ranub Epsilon S. However, Co Whale doesn't care and continues pushing the brainwashing wave forward. After all, to someone born as a sacred vessel, Shiho is nothing more than an insignificant creature he can kill at any time. That's how it should have been. Shiho shouts with all his remaining strength. Remember, remember. Filled square. Hearing those words, Co Whale feels an inexplicable churning sensation in his body. Filled square. Shiho calls the name of that person, now erased. The pronunciation is muddled beyond recognition, and even Shiho himself doesn't know whom he's calling. But he calls nonetheless. Filled square. Someone begins pulling Shiho, who is within the head realm. It is Co Unyun, who is outside the head realm. As if Shiho's role has ended the moment he called out Filled Square's name once. Co Unyun is summoning Shiho back. If he were to return, Shiho would likely be given a new body by Co Unyun, resume cultivation, and continue to live. However, Shiho rejects even Co Unyun's call and continues to scream towards Co Whale's brainwashing wave until the very end. Even as he detonates his own spirit body, he shouts into the depths of Co Whale's tainted soul filling the heavens. As if begging, pleading for even just a single moment to reach through. He becomes a pure white beam of light. Filled square. Remember, I, you, we. Shiho's spirit body exhausts all its strength above Co Whale's brainwashing wave before disappearing entirely. I loved you, not Co Whale, but Filled square. You, without even being able to save Filled square. Shiho, despite receiving another chance at life, vanishes. Co Whale completely hurls Shiho's spirit into the afterlife, then settles into the Sea Dragon Palace, arriving at the southern end of the head realm's sky. At the forehead of the head realm. Finally, I've arrived. Through tainted soul filling the heavens, Co Whale's soul arrives directly at the edge of the head realm brainwashing wave. All that remains is to pierce through this forehead and exit the head realm. By doing so, the head realm will awaken, and Co Whale will gain a brief opportunity to gaze upon the Akashic records stored within the depths of the head realm. He recalls the first time he saw the Akashic records. Back then, the Akashic records granted him the knowledge he desired. This time as well, the Akashic records will surely grant Co Whale the knowledge of his origin that he desires. Then, Co Whale will be absorbed into the Akashic records and, in turn, absorbed into his origin. In doing so, he will influence the origin that gave birth to him. At long last, Co Whale's goal will be complete. At that moment, Co Whale inexplicably feels something strange. Something is twisted. For some reason, he doesn't want to go beyond this forehead and be absorbed into the Akashic records. Co Whale's heart is rejecting him. What is this? Why? He looks at his abruptly unmoving heart, taken aback. This isn't some peculiar spell. There isn't any trace of an immortal art. It's just, simply, his heart refuses to move his body. A mere heart, how dare it? Boo-doo-dook. Co Whale grits his teeth. Tormenting him all throughout his life has always been the heart. From the very beginning, it was because he had a heart that he suffered. A mere heart. Co Whale ignores his heart and forcibly raises his hand towards the southern end of the head realm. A mere heart. Finally, he grips the southern end of the head realm and tightly shuts his eyes. Just what have you done to me this time, Co Unyun? Just one step forward, and his goal is within reach. However, that single step. His heart refuses to let him take it. The history that Seo Eun-yun rewrote for Seo Whale is only one single thing. The manifestations that Seo Eun-yun imprinted into Seo Whale's heart through beatings. Those hearts were not just simple hearts of the heart tribe. They were strikes infused with the hearts of every person who had been harmed by Seo Whale throughout Seo Eun-yun's life. From Seo Eun-yun himself, to Yu Ryan, Yu Baek, Yu Hua, Baek Yom, slave races, Suin and Hong Yian, and countless other living beings of the sun and moon heavenly domain. And even Seo Ran's heart. Seo Eun-yun engraved all those hearts, even if only in the form of manifestations, into Seo Whale's heart. And what Seo Eun-yun rewrote is this. To make the will of Seo Ran, which should have completely melted into tainted soul filling the heavens, remain intact, however faintly. If even the faintest trace remains, Seo Ran will reawaken through the countless hearts Seo Eun-yun engraved. And Seo Ran will hold back Seo Whale's footsteps. That is the history of Seo Whale, rewritten by Seo Eun-yun. Seo Whale realizes this fact immediately. Quote. I see. So you're still alive within me, filled square. Staring at the head realm where Seo Whale resides, I bite my lip tightly. Please, Seo Ran. Out. The odds are 50-50. Seo Ran will undoubtedly push aside Seo Whale and emerge through my arrangements. But the problem is, that place is the head realm. I have no idea what kind of variables might occur. Damn it. For the first time in his life, Seo Whale spits out crude curses and grits his teeth. Just what is a heart supposed to mean? Despite everything being right before his eyes, Seo Whale cannot move because of the aching presence of Seo Ran's heart within his chest. He remembers Seo Eun-yun's punches. He recalls every time Seo Eun-yun swung his fist, an unknown pawn was engraved into him. Among those pains, there was one that felt familiar. He remembers Seo Eun-yun's filling the heavens governing view. He remembers the gazes that shone through the hazy mist of the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Those gazes were undoubtedly familiar. He remembers Shiho's call. In truth, Shiho was an insignificant being who had no connection to him. However, Shiho's call undoubtedly resonated within the depths of Seo Whale's heart. And Seo Whale realizes the cause of those feelings of déjà vu. Single quote. Is it you? Filled square. The words that he will never disappear. His gaze is reverberating within Seo Whale's chest. Suddenly, everything feels futile to him. What if he just lets go, and watches to see what answer Seo Ran came up with? That's how much Seo Ran's heart, resonating within Seo Whale, is overwhelmingly powerful. Based on Seo Ran's heart, the countless hearts Seo Eun-yun embedded within Seo Whale are trying to turn his steps around. At that moment, Seo Whale suddenly sees the sun and moon of the head realm. He gazes into the light of the sun and moon. Within that light, he recalls his first parents. Seo Whale remembers being loved by them when he was born. His parents from back then. Quote. N-O. Seo Whale grits his teeth as he stares at the light of the head realm. Seo Ran's heart is undeniably intense. The hearts Seo Eun-yun arbitrarily implanted within him are also overwhelmingly strong. However, Seo Whale remembers that he, too, possesses a heart. A fierce hatred begins to rise. In truth, if it were only hatred, Seo Whale might not have been able to overcome Seo Ran and the other hearts. But today, Seo Whale realizes what lies on the other side of this hatred. He realizes that he's been wanting to see his first parents once again. Just as the darkest shadows are born from the brightest light, the source of Seo Whale's hatred is ultimately the hollow existence of his first parents. Therefore, Seo Whale carries not only hatred but also a faint glimmer of hope. At least his first parents were real, existing beings. He has come all the way here for the faint hope, for the faint light, that he might have once been loved by those real, existing beings. Seo Whale's hatred rivaling that of Great Mountain cannot overcome the hearts Seo Eun-yun has built. However, that tiny spark of hope, Seo Whale has discovered deep within his heart. It allows Seo Whale to stand against the hearts of Seo Eun-yun and Seo Ran. Quote. Seo Whale breaks the restraints Seo Eun-yun has embedded in his chest and slowly reaches his hand towards the southern end of the sky. The light of the head realm is awakening Seo Whale's hope. Must confirm. At last, Seo Whale, still under Seo Eun-yun's numerous suppressions, reaches out towards the edge of the head realm. Transforming entirely into a mental wave, Seo Whale directly moves and exits through the head realm's forehead. Or rather, he tries. Clench. Seo Whale, whose upper body had been passing through the forehead, is yanked back by a firm hand grabbing his ankle. That hand grips Seo Whale tightly and restricts his body with countless demon abilities. However, that being soon vomits blood under the countless waves surging out of Seo Whale's body. The being throws Seo Whale somewhere far away. A dimensional gate of the head realm is opened and Seo Whale is sent flying somewhere in the astral realm. The one who threw Seo Whale sinks beneath the sea of the head realm, vomiting blood. That being is Hong Fan, who has lowered his cultivation to the 4-axis stage to enter the head realm. Well done, Hong Fan. In the end, I failed to turn Seo Whale back. However, Hong Fan had volunteered to stop Seo Whale himself. I explained the dangers of the head realm, but Hong Fan insisted he would go, even if it meant lowering his cultivation realm. And Hong Fan seized a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity to pull Seo Whale out. He didn't awaken the head realm. I let out a sigh of relief. If Seo Whale awakened the head realm, there would have been no way to deal with the consequences. I look at the place where Hong Fan threw Seo Whale. There, Seo Whale floats aimlessly in space with a blank expression. Wang. At the same time, Seo Whale's body inexplicably flickers with the powerful energy of Taiji, growing faint before reappearing in flashes. Even if he didn't awaken the head realm, that reaction. It seems as though he had glimpsed something deep within the head realm. Hong Fan's success in pulling Seo Whale out was truly thanks to impeccable timing. If he had grabbed Seo Whale just a little earlier, Hong Fan himself would have been brainwashed by tainted soul filling the heavens while Seo Whale was still conscious. If he had been just a little later, perhaps only Seo Whale's pants would have remained. At the exact moment Seo Whale pushed his head into the secrets of the head realm, glimpsed something, and lost consciousness, Hong Fan had pulled him out. It was truly an extraordinary decision. Rest for now. If it's only the 4-axis stage, you'll be safe even in the head realm. Once you return, I will spare no effort to ensure you reach the star-shattering stage immediately. Wu Wang. Feeling gratitude towards Hong Fan, I prepare to leap towards Seo Whale location. Though Seo Whale is flickering wildly across the surrounding space, the frequency of his flickering is gradually decreasing. It seems the effects of the something he witnessed in the head realm are fading with time. Single quote. Now, everything is over. Seo Whale. I reach my hand towards Seo Whale, who for some reason still wears a dazed expression. When his tainted soul filling the heavens activated, all the tainted soul filling the heavens across the universe disappeared. Now, the only remaining tainted soul filling the heavens is the one flickering over there. And because of having witnessed something in the head realm, Seo Whale seems unable to activate tainted soul filling the heavens any longer in his current state. In other words, there is only one chance to eradicate tainted soul filling the heavens and awaken Seo Ran, and that is now. Goo. My hand leaps across the universe and reaches towards where Seo Whale is. Just as I am about to seize Seo Whale, Pot, Taiji seems to ripple around Seo Whale, and Ohai Seo appears, snatching his body away. She quickly begins to flee somewhere. It's not Ohai Seo's main body. Is it a clone created through Immortal Beast True Blood? I observe her clone with interest. As her clone absorbs the Taiji rippling out of the dazed Seo Whale, she grows faster and stronger. I immediately grasp the principle behind it at a glance. Seo Whale's body is currently filled with the ancient force he gained from witnessing the head realm. And, Ohai Seo is able to absorb that ancient force for herself. She accelerates more and more, soon leaping light years away like someone in the star-shattering stage. Of course, this isn't true star-shattering level power, but rather a massive amplification of power through the Immortal Beast True Blood due to the ancient force emanating from Seo Whale. It's quite a bold act. Despite the fear of being caught by me, daring to come here to rescue Seo Whale. It seems that she, too, has undergone a slight change of heart. But that's all there is. Wo Wang. I clench my fist. From thousands of light years away, Ohai Seo begins to be drawn into my grasp. I have the confidence to reverse track her clone's energy and pull her main body here in one go. Come, Ohai Seo. Come here. Struck with horror, she seems to be trying to escape my attraction force while holding the dazed Seo Whale. But it's useless. Even if she somehow gained the power of the star-shattering stage through luck, it doesn't matter. Between her and me lies an insurmountable wall. She is already nothing more than an insignificant being, Wei Wu. And that applies to Co Wayol as well, who has now consumed all of his tainted soul, filling the heavens, and is now half out of his mind. You too can no longer escape this immortal's grasp. I have already decided how to deal with Ohai Co. I gave her countless chances. The number of opportunities alone I gave her to correct her nature as she lived as a candle dragon surpassed thousands. Yet she kicked away every chance and even attempted to kill Shiho. Now, there will be no more chances. Her flesh will be modified into a living puppet by Kim Yeon, her soul refined into a ghost king by Kong Min-hee, and she will be turned into a puppet Dharma treasure that practices the ghost path method, eventually becoming one of our immortal treasures. And Co Wayol will never be able to come back to life. All that will remain in this world will be Co Ran. It's just when I think so. Ding! A faint sound of a Brahma bell rings, and I realize the stars around me have stopped moving. At the same time, the flames of the nearby fixed stars freeze. The sacred masters and true persons who have been communicating with me fall silent. My comrades, who have been raising a celebratory toast, freeze in place. This is time in the sun and moon heavenly domain has momentarily stopped. And then, a familiar old man appears before my eyes. The immortal treasure of the heavenly venerable of time. South Polar Ritual Treasure, Young Sung. I no longer feel the same fear as before and calmly ask. What brings you here, agent of time? Young Sung asks me with a dry expression. You have tampered with providence. Did you stop the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain? Seeing Young Sung's demeanor, I feel relieved. The fact that he chooses to speak through mental speech in consideration for me means he holds some goodwill towards me. That is correct. Your recent actions have disrupted providence, resonating and spreading widely with the beings who govern, death, end, and restart. Moreover, it caused a powerful vibration impossible for us gods of the time lineage to overlook. Young Sung continues speaking with an indifferent face. In particular, it directly resonated with me, the agent of the Lord, and with the Lord's direct disciples. And, while I do not care, one faction among the Lord's direct disciples have been deeply angered by you. They will soon descend upon the sun and moon heavenly domain to judge you and your associates. Who are they? At my words, Young Sung lowers his voice and responds. Northern Dipper 7 Heavenly Lords Bei Do Chi Tien Jun. Comparable to the underworld 10 kings of the netherworld, they will soon descend using their pawns within the sun and moon heavenly domain. I let out a low hum at his words. Why are you telling me this? Are you not on the same side? They differ in opinion from me. More importantly, the Lord has shown you respect. That alone is far more than enough of a reason enough for me to aid you. Wo Wang. Young Sung clenches his fist and extends something towards me. It is a small celestial sphere, resembling the main body of the South Polar Ritual Treasure Young Sung. The great desolate path of golden divine is an imitation of me. Because of that, I can intervene to some extent. If you go to the lightning sacred sea and use this celestial sphere, you'll be able to activate the great desolate path once. Use it to escape to another heavenly domain. I look at him and ask one question. Can my comrades move with me as well? If you force them in, one other person could accompany you. But any more is difficult. I have no interest in your comrades. Then I refuse. If I leave my comrades behind and they are all torn apart by enraged true immortals, as happened during the phenomena extinguishing mantra incident, what would I do then? At my words, Young Sung furrows his brow. That is foolish. They will not descend in their main bodies but rather project themselves through their pawns in the sun and moon heavenly domain. But even so, their projections are strong. Each and every one of them can annihilate all the mortal beings in the sun and moon heavenly domain. If all 7 descend, even killing Blood Yin would not be impossible for them. If they are such beings, then all the more reason for me to bring my comrades along. If I cannot go with them, I will not go at all. Foolish. Unless you are at the level of vast cold in their youth, you cannot stop them. That may be true. However, I calmly convey my will to Young Sung. Running away alone, without doing anything, is something I hate more than death. I've already experienced such pain deep in my bones under the great mountain supreme deity. I will not endure such suffering again. Even if we all have to die together. Young Sung stares at me silently for a moment, then lets out a small sigh. He hands me the celestial sphere and turns around. Do as you wish. If this is your will, I will not stop you. Wo Wang. With those words, Young Sung disappears from sight. And from where he vanishes, a brief echo of his voice lingers, breathing hope into me. Among your subordinates, the one called Yohi is a pawn of the Northern Dipper 7 Heavenly Lords. Originally, their descent requires the power of 49 entering nirvana beings. With one missing, their descent will be incomplete. To the point where even with 7, they probably will not be able to catch blood yin. This is the only aid I can offer you. I will accept it. Gratefully, I take the celestial sphere and store it within my domain for now. It is said receiving something from true immortals brings misfortune, but this is a time where I must accept it. This is, quite literally, the final bastion. Kijijijik. I turn my gaze towards a point in the universe. As Young Sung said, somewhere in the sky, familiar figures are at work. They are all too familiar. Truly, you all share such a sickening ill fate with this immortal. The nearly 50 entering nirvanas who have been bothering me since the nether ghost realm. Now reduced to 48 with Yohi's absence, these entering nirvana true persons are linking their star veins together, drawing some kind of star vein formation in the cosmic space. I glance between them and Seo Weol before extending my hand towards Seo Weol. Wu Wang. A gang sphere clone extends from my hand and flies towards Seo Weol and Ohai Seo. Capture Ohai Seo and witness Seo Weol's conclusion. At this point, that is the extent of their significance to me. To prepare to face the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords, who are said will appear to threaten me, I begin flying towards the star vein formation. Chapter 536. Severing Heaven Duan Tian 4. Wu Wang. I briefly close my eyes as I observe the entering nirvanas who are summoning the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords through the star vein formation. Can I do it? Logically, there's no way I can face the 7 true immortals known as the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords with my strength alone. From what Young Sung said, they seem to be quite high-ranking even among true immortals. If such beings descend as projections, they would already possess the might of true immortals. On top of that, I am now in the entering nirvana stage. That means I am currently the most vulnerable existence to true immortals in this world. Why are those in the entering nirvana stage the most vulnerable to true immortals? It is related to the true immortal advancement method. True immortals are also divided into realms and stages. TL. Stages as in early, mid, late, etc. According to Yohi, the first realm one steps into after becoming a true immortal is called Vestige Liberation Immortal Shijia Xian. The meaning of the name itself reveals how one advances to that realm. Vestige Liberation, Shijia. It refers to beings who shed their physical bodies and ascend entirely into the world above the planes of Qi, Soul, and Fate. In short, the true immortal advancement ritual is liberation from the physical body. That is, one must abandon all their lifespan, physical body, and everything one has pursued in the mortal world up until now to reach true immortality. Simply put, we call this suicide, Zisha. Death. Such a simple yet terrifying ritual is the only way to advance to become a true immortal. Why do the nether ghost realm entering nirvanas not challenge the true immortal advancement ritual but instead spend countless days staring at the corpse of reincarnation Judge Yusu Ryan, who holds the secret of resurrection? Aren't Beta S. Why did the remnant of the Golden Divine tell me, we all eventually have to go to the netherworld? It is because the true immortal advancement ritual is, at its core, suicide. This is precisely why it is nearly impossible for those in the entering nirvana stage to resist true immortals and why they must clump together to stand a chance against them. True immortals, who have completed vestige liberation and obtained their immortal rank, already embody both life and death within themselves. Furthermore, once cultivators reach a certain stage, they can gain knowledge simply by directly facing the other person. Thus, when entering nirvana true persons behold a true immortal, they behold death itself. And true persons who behold death are said to immediately undergo the true immortal advancement ritual on the spot. In short, entering nirvanas die just by directly facing a true immortal. If they are lucky, they might survive and become a true immortal. But in the situation of suddenly facing a true immortal and suddenly performing the advancement ritual, who knows how high the success rate is? For an entering nirvana cultivator who is not mentally prepared, directly facing a true immortal is unimaginably dangerous. In fact, the difference in rank between entering nirvana true persons and vestige liberation immortals is said to be almost negligible. However, the life and death that vestige liberation immortals hold within them boasts an absolute counter against entering nirvana true persons. This is why it is said that true persons must group together to face a vestige liberation immortal. When true persons gather together, they can, in their own way, use fate prophecies to strike at a vestige liberation immortal without directly facing them. But, honestly speaking, where in this heavenly domain would I Find someone willing to join forces with me to fight 7 true immortal rank beings. Just facing one vestige liberation immortal alone requires at least 50 entering nirvana true persons. However, the ones descending soon are beings of an even higher rank than vestige liberation immortals, and it is unfathomable how deep their experience as true immortals runs. Each one of them is likely stronger than an ordinary true immortal. Furthermore, Young Sung said that if their projections fully coverage, they could even capture Blood Yin. Blood Yin serves as the benchmark. Young Sung said that originally, 49 true persons are needed to draw the star vein formation to divine descent the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords. But since Yohi is missing, making the count 48, the divine descent will not be perfect. Therefore, the projection of the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords summoned this time will not be able to defeat Blood Yin. Young Sung himself doesn't seem to have any intention of directly helping me, and considering his words, it seems he's subtly suggesting that I go seek out Blood Yin and beg for help. But that's far too dangerous. Having subdued Seo Whale to near perfection, the greatest threats right now are the soon-to-be summoned Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords and Blood Yin. Especially since Blood Yin sees me as a follower of light, I have no idea what he might do to me if I fall into his hands. Thus, going to Blood Yin isn't the worst option, but it's still the next worst choice. But given the current situation, the next worst choice is the only option left. If that's the case, I need to turn that next worst choice into at least the second best choice. I must become stronger. I contemplate as I gaze at the all-heaven sword. I have reached the pinnacle of void shattering. Now, all that remains is to reach the next realm. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have had the slightest clue to reach that next realm. If I hadn't met Jang Ik. However, through Jang Ike's final strike, I obtained a clue to the next realm. I will show you. This is the fighting spirit to cut down the end. Keying. Jang Ike's green light fills cedarwood painting. I, observing Jang Ike's green intent, silently imbue the all-heavens sword into the colorless glass sword. The colorless glass sword melts into the all-heavens sword, transforming into something akin to a pure white line. Then, I draw out the single technique I've been perfecting all this time. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. Final decisive move. As the 36th technique, this is the last move that stabilizes the flow of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. Keying. Pure white light begins to gather into the all-heavens sword. Seeing this, Jang Ik chuckles softly. Such brute force. What do you intend to cut with that? I can't help but cough embarrassingly at his words. As Jang Ik said, brute strength is indeed being condensed, but there is a lack of sharpness. At this rate, it is nothing more than a club, not a sword. This technique is not yet complete. For it to be perfected, it might take tens of thousands of years. Perhaps, hundreds of millions of years. The conception of the technique itself has been finalized. However, the time required to draw on the technique I envisioned is so long that it's impossible to predict when it will finally be completed. Jang Ik clicks his tongue and says, "Hurry up and get rid of it. If that's the case, just confront me with your authority instead." It's quite a disrespectful thing to say to a fellow Heart tribe. But I accept his words. To attempt to withstand Jang Ike's lifetime honed single strike with an incomplete technique would instead be me who is being rude. I adjust my stance, preparing the linkage between the 33rd Sumeru and the 34th Kunlun. Now that's better. A much more impressive momentum. Yes, even if it's master, you'll have to be on guard for this one. I'm not simply talking about the power of Sumeru Kunlun. So it appears. Regardless, now that you've conceptualized the final decisive move of your martial arts, the flow of your martial arts Wu itself has stabilized. He's right, I've conceptually completed all 36 moves of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. And over time, I have stabilized them with the goal of linking all 36 techniques seamlessly from start to finish. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship serves as a stable foundation for unleashing the 36th and final decisive move, reorganizing previously somewhat disjointed and lacking techniques into a cohesive and unified whole. Thus, the move of Sumeru Kunlun I am unleashing now is not the same as before. This ultimate beyond the end thrust, which once pierced through Blood Yin's hand and temporarily sealed Yohi's cultivation, can now be performed up to 3 consecutive times. If it hits, it's a technique capable of helping an entering nirvana undergo the true immortal advancement ritual in a single go. However, even though I have prepared such a Sumeru Kunlun, I feel I cannot possibly muster the courage to face Jang Ik. Jang Ik looks at me and grins. For reference, if your technique gets shattered, block it, even if you have to use your authority. Pardon, as I said, I reached this decisive technique to cut down the end. And right now, you are the one causing the end. Therefore, I will cut down the end from you. But, when your master tells you to do something, just do it. Sururung. The green light overflowing around Jang Ik begins to grow denser. If not, just die here. An ominous green light spills from Jang Ike's two eyes. I remain silent for a moment before nodding. We each assume our stances to collide with our most confident decisive techniques. I wanted to face him with the 36th move, but it would take too long to train to the point where I could face Jang Ik. It can't be helped. Keying. The green intent erupting from Jang Ike's body flares brightly. The colors of intent are diverse. For example, joy is gold. Anger is red. Sorrow is dark blue. Pleasure is purple, though for some, it is said to be silver. Love is light pink. Hatred is dark red. Desire is colorless. These are the 7 fundamental colors of intent. Numerous intents branch from these basic colors, mixing, splitting, darkening, or lightening to form unique hues. Then, what does green intent symbolize? Green intent has the meaning of consolation, Wei-an, and soul pacification, Zhen-hun. From Jang Ike's intent flows the story of his life. It is the life of him who was once of a slave race. He was born 45,000 years ago during the chaos of the bright cold realm. In the midst of endless turmoil, Jang Ik discovered he has a talent for wielding the padao. As a member of a slave race, he was dragged around by his master as a clown performing with the padao. But one day, his master got caught up in the war of the bright cold realm and died. Jang Ik, in an attempt to protect the youngest member of the performance troupe and his fellow kin from one of the heaven tribe who sought to hunt them, picked up his padao. From that day forward, Jang Ike's talent began to shine. He slaughtered countless cultivators with his padao. Qi refining stage, Qi building stage, core formation stage, nascent soul stage. Numerous cultivators fell under Jang Ike's padao like autumn leaves swept by the wind. However, Jang Ik always felt a sense of inadequacy. Have they died again today? His kin, his friends from the slave races. They were all slaughtered with ease, their stamina depleted quickly, they grew exhausted and died, or were eaten and killed. I will remember you all. Thus, Jang Ik remembers them. Though he cannot recall everything through a brute force method like the canvas of myriad forms and connections, he honors them through his fighting spirit. The brief moments in their lives that carried value. He manifests the intent of those moments with his fighting spirit. Jang Ike's padao technique becomes increasingly refined and beautiful. Because Jang Ike's dance is a dance created to honor the lives and hearts of the deceased, Jang Ik always honors and remembers those who have died. In this way, Jang Ik establishes his fighting spirit through comforting, honoring, and soul pacification. To honor the painful past of his kin. To ensure such tragedies never happen again, he pursues ultimate destruction within his requiem. Soul pacification is a vow. When facing those who have died in suffering, it is a promise to remain vigilant so such suffering will never happen again. That is soul pacification. Jang Ik seeks the meaning of that soul pacification through destruction. I tremble as I stare at the green light that contains Jang Ike's entire life. Do. Single quote. This can't be blocked with my martial arts alone. Perhaps if I use accumulating dust forms a mountain, it might be possible. But accumulating dust forms a mountain relies on the power of the canvas of myriad forms and connections, and I cannot use that in this situation. That leaves only one option. To use my authority, just as Jang Ik instructed. Jang Ik raises his padao and swings it down. A simple, straightforward, yet overwhelmingly powerful technique. Downward strike. I have no confidence to block that technique. So, I will block it. Pong. Through the Sumeru sword dance, I borrow the power of the world, and with Kunlun, I thrust forward. The first thrust is merely a probing attack. Kunlun clashes against Jang Ike's massive padao and rebounds. But since I can now thrust up to 3 consecutive times, I have 2 thrusts remaining. So I imbue the second thrust with my authority. Immortal Art Various Omens, Immortal Art Examination of Doubts, Immortal Art 5 Epics, 3 Spirits, and 8 Paths. I pour every immortal art I can currently use to reinforce this thrust. Jang Ike's padao collides with my single strike combined with immortal arts, slowing its descent and chipping away at its edge. But the padao still continues its descent towards me. I even realize that Jang Ike's padao is now emanating an even more overwhelming force. Intent. I see. I uncover the secret behind Jang Ike's immense power. I prepare my final thrust. This is the third thrust. If I falter here, I will suffer a fatal wound from Jang Ik. That cannot happen in this situation. In that case, I must add the most destructive spell I have to this thrust. Wing. At the tip of my thrust, the jade of yin-yang and 5 elements rises. It's been a while since I've used this. Immediately, my final thrust collides with Zhang Ike's Badao. Flash. The world fills with green light. Splitting Emperor. Qua. My thrust, combined with the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique, seems to pierce through Zhang Ike's slash, shatters his Badao, and then pulverizes his body into a bloody mess. Shukong. My body is also split in two in an instant, but I borrow the power of cedarwood painting to restore myself. She. Master. I look at Zhang Ik. With sorrowful eyes. I saw it. Through Zhang Ike's strike, I glimpsed the starting point of the next realm he has attained. Isn't it sad? Zhang Ik speaks as his entire body, turned into pulp, approaches death. First, let me treat you. You are dying. Don't. As you've seen, I am reaching the ultimate pinnacle of my fighting spirit. He sincerely warns me not to heal him, his gaze filled with murderous intent. Master, do not grieve. Among the Heart tribe who have died by your hand, was there anyone who regret being killed by you? There is none. I feel the same, there is no regret. From Zhang Ike's body, pure white souls begin to drift out. Their number gradually increases, and Zhang Ike's body begins to wither. But those are not real souls. Then what are they? Yes, they are artificial souls, similar to those of the Mad Lord. But unlike the Mad Lords, these artificial souls were created not through circuits but through Zhang Ike's own fighting spirit. The reason Zhang Ik could unleash an, even stronger, explosive power than before. It is because he remembers the intent of those he once fought alongside in life, making them into artificial souls and preserving them in his body. From those artificial souls, he drew upon the intent they had during life. And because he endlessly dances a requiem to honor for his comrades, the artificial souls accepted Zhang Ike's heart and lent him their strength. It is a technique called heart field, Xintian. Zhang Ik slowly explains about the artificial souls. It's something I created a long time ago, but I never really used it. However, I needed it to face you, so I brought it out today. It's extraordinary. It can't help but be extraordinary. It's a method where, not just the Dantian, but an independent energy-generating organ is created in the plane of soul, and after embedding the intent of my former comrades into that organ, I drew upon their strength with a heart that honors them. Your canvas of myriad forms and connections can likely do something similar. Perhaps even more efficiently than mine. You saw it too, didn't you? The starting point of the next realm that I discovered. Yes, I did. My face twists with bitterness. Zhang Ike's single move undoubtedly contained the next realm. I had enough confidence to reach the next realm. But I deliberately chose not to. The heaven and earth tribes that slaughtered, devoured, and enslaved my kin. I didn't want to understand their heart and worldview. That's why I only showed you the heart field just now, as a demonstration. As Zhang Ik approaches death, he slowly closes his eyes. But if it's you, you will surely be able to reach it. The same goes for Kim Young-hoon, that kid. Promise me one thing. Please, tell me, one day, when you reach the ultimate of fighting spirit. In your terms, martial pinnacle, if that time comes, when your strength has grown, strong enough, please create a world where, the strong, cannot so easily oppress the weak. With those words, Zhang Ik closes his eyes. To use that technique, he had to cut away his pride and cut away his own life force, utilizing the reckless and demanding heart field. All for the sake of showing me that technique. I kneel before Zhang Ik and bow 10 times. I may hold the status of sacred master, and Zhang Ik may have been an intruder, but none of that matters. Because until the end, he was my master. The entering nirvana true persons are constructing a star vein formation right before my eyes. It looks as though the star vein formation will be completed shortly. No, in truth, it seems that simply entering the activation command would cause the star vein formation to function, allowing the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords to descend. I already understand that there is no point in interfering. Even if I destroy this star vein formation, the attraction force between the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords and the Sun and Moon heavenly domain has already been established. Therefore, instead of recklessly charging in to destroy the formation and the 48 true persons, I calmly raise the All-Heavens Sword. The next realm Zhang Ik revealed to me. The enlightenment of the third step before the throne. This is it. Wing. The all-heaven's sword gradually begins to shine brightly, dancing within the plane of soul. The condition to rise to the entering nirvana stage ultimately lies in controlling a plane. Whether it's the plane of fate or the plane of chi, it's the same. If so, the third step before the throne, capable of opposing the entering nirvana stage. Does this next realm require controlling the plane of soul? That is incorrect. The plane of soul is not a dimension, as is commonly thought. It is a far different concept. In fact, the flowers of the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable's Eastern Heaven flower field align more closely with the concept of the plane of soul. The heart essence assigned to each individual. That is the plane of soul. In other words, the plane of soul is not a single vast world like the planes of chi or fate. Instead, every living being's heart in this world is individually referred to as a plane of soul. Thus, the heart tribe is entirely opposite to the heaven and earth tribes. The heart tribe completely controls the plane of soul, assigned to them, from the very beginning. Something the heaven and earth tribes need to enter the entering nirvana stage to accomplish, the heart tribe achieves as their very first step as a heart tribe. From there, the differentiation in realms simply depends on how one draws power from the plane of soul they control and how one influences other planes of soul beyond their own. The pinnacle of controlling and wielding a single plane of soul is void shattering. Or, as it is also called, the second step before the throne, or mandala. What Jangik showed is, quite literally, the ultimate will he can demonstrate through his life and his heart essence. At the same time, Jangik created other artificial souls within his body to significantly increase his output. Artificial souls are remarkably similar to the heart tribe's techniques, to the extent that they could even be classified as one, much like the Mad Lord's wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon. However, that is merely classification. The artificial souls Jangik showed are clearly more akin to the consciousness methods of the heaven and earth tribes. As the realms of cultivators of the heaven and earth tribes who train in the planes of chi and fate become higher, the more they can interfere with other planes to a certain extent. At the nascent soul stage, they can perceive other planes, and by the sacred vessel stage, as a sacred master, they can even extend their hand into planes other than their own. Now, at the entering nirvana stage, it feels as though even a heaven tribe cultivator who cultivates in the plane of fate can utilize the powers of the plane of chi at the star-shattering level. That's right. As cultivators of the heaven and earth tribes continue their immortal cultivation, they gain the ability to interfere with other planes. Then what about the heart tribe? The heart tribe does not attempt to understand any plane. Even a glance at how the manifestations of the heart tribe are all distinctly named reveals that they are a people with an incredibly strong sense of self in how they live. And Jang Ike's enlightenment taught me this. Well, look who it is. Is this not the madman who twisted providence and shook the sun and moon heavenly domain? The entering nirvana true persons begin mocking me. Perhaps they are speaking with such confidence because they believe in the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords they are about to summon. What brings you here? Ah, are you perhaps here to serve us? Whether in a male or female form, serving one's seniors in any form is indeed a noble act. Ha ha ha, go ahead and undergo transformation. Or have you come here to settle old grudges with us? Why don't you go wild? You seem quite confident after delaying the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. We will show you the heaven beyond heavens. I do not respond to their words, silently continuing to compress the all-heavens sword. The colorless glass sword imbued with the all-heavens sword as well continues to compress thinner and thinner along with it. Jang Ike's enlightenment is ultimately this. To reach the third step before the throne, in other words, the realm corresponding to the entering nirvana stage, it is necessary to understand other planes. In regards to the planes of chi and fate, it is crucial to control their chosen plane because one begins understanding other planes from the beginning. But on the other hand, for the plane of soul, because one controls their own plane first, it becomes difficult to reach the ultimate realm without understanding other planes. Heaven, earth, and heart eventually become similar as they approach the pinnacle. Wu Wang, it thins. My all-heavens sword thins further and further, becoming a sword capable of cutting through anything in the world. Hey, didn't I ask you as a senior? Are you preparing to use the phenomena extinguishing mantra? Ha, why don't you try using it again? The true persons begin to direct killing intent at me. If I continue to remain silent, they seem ready to attack. But I have no interest in such things. Come to think of it, I was curious. If immortal arts change the world with the heart, just how does it differ from martial arts unfolded with the heart or the techniques of the heart tribe? Perhaps, immortal arts and martial arts share the same origin. No, Rather, they might need to complement each other to be completed. Because, the three great ultimates itself is a circle completed by the union of three extremes. Keying, do you truly dare to mock us this much? If you do not immediately kneel and beg while returning our junior sister Yohi. And finally, the all-heaven sword, compressed to the point of a single line, completely loses its balance and dissolves into the void. Kakong, the colorless glass sword, which had been thinning alongside the all-heaven sword, snaps in the void. I look at this and let out a sigh of admiration. I see. The true persons glare at me and shout in rage. You truly dare to ignore us. I can feel countless immortal arts activating. The malice of the true persons begins to target me. But I pay no attention to them and swing the void held in my hand. In my hand, there is neither the all-heaven sword nor the colorless glass sword. However, in the next moment, exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. The true persons scream in unison and the immortal arts they were preparing simultaneously come to a halt. I firmly face the true persons and smile softly. At last, I have attained it. The heart sword. Martial arts cannot be completed in isolation. Perfect martial arts cannot exist. Just as a person's dream is not completed by the dream alone but by countless other events and dreams along the way. The ultimate of martial arts is the same. Yes. Third step before the throne. The condition to reach that place is through land and will dual cultivation, or heart and heaven dual cultivation. And Jang Ik, unwilling to learn the techniques of the heaven and earth tribes that had oppressed him, had only hinted at it to me through a shallow consciousness method that he had learned solely for mourning purposes. Jang Ik must have realized this only recently. He must have reached the pinnacle of the second step before the throne, sought all kinds of methods, learned the earth tribe method, and only then realized that he must understand the hearts of the earth tribe to reach the third step before the throne. And then, he must have realized deep in his heart that it was impossible for him to forgive the heaven and earth tribes and set the nonsensical goal of challenging the end. Single quote. Even so, I will carry on your will. I do not hate the heaven and earth tribes. But I can at least shoulder the will to protect the weak that Jang Ik carried on his shoulders. That must have been why Jang Ik entrusted me with such a request in his final moments. Wing, I recall the name of my new realm. For the owner of Void, it is Udambara. For the golden monster, it is Dragon Flower. They both named their realms of martial arts with the meaning of life. Only now do I understand. Martial arts alone can never attain life. A sword by itself holds no meaning. Just as it needs something to cut and someone to wield it. Just as a flower needs bees, soil, the light of the sky, rain clouds, and wind to bloom. Life in this world cannot exist in isolation. That is why those who named this realm combined heaven, earth, and heart, giving it names of living flowers and trees to naturally imbue the meaning of life. However, I decide to give this realm a slightly different name. The true persons see me lost in thought, urgently notice my skills, and begin summoning the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords, while I watch their summoning unfold. I watch their summoning ritual unfold. Scenes from my past flash before my eyes. Third rate, second rate, first rate, peak. This was the result of my struggle to escape the despair of my lack of martial talent and my martial incompetence. 3 flowers gather at the summit. 5 energies converge to the origin. Ultimate pinnacle. This was the result of my struggle to break free from the oppression of cultivators who saw me and ordinary humans as nothing more than pills. Entering heavens beyond the path. Treading heavens beyond the path. Shattering heavens beyond the path. This was the result of my struggle to escape not from cultivators, but from fate itself, and of my own inherent lack of talent from birth. Seated detachment, entering hope. Void shattering. This was the result of my struggle not just to escape from fate but to confront and accept it. It has been long. For a long and longer time, I have fought against fate, against those who oppressed me, and against myself. I gaze into the cosmic space before me. The vast emptiness, and the sky. Perhaps I have wanted to cut down this sky. To cut apart this world itself and become free. That is why I think of a name that symbolizes freedom. The first thing that comes to my mind is a passage from a literary work back on Earth. A bird breaks out of its egg. To the bird, the egg is the world. Those who wish to be born. They must all break the sky they have lived under. As I envision a life breaking free from the egg that is myself, I finally speak the name of the final realm. Severing heaven, Duan Tien. The all-heaven sword melts entirely into the void, blending with my cultivation. cultivation, immortal art, attraction force, explosion. They all become one within this heart. At the same time, the completed 3 great ultimates finally rise again behind my head. This is the 3 great ultimates unleashed after reaching the entering nirvana stage. Simultaneously, only now do I realize that the immortal art of crystal glass to treading sea has at last been completed. From the beginning, it was never a heaven and earth dual cultivation method but a method of the 3 great ultimates, and completing it required raising all 3 to the same realm. As I gaze at the crystal glass to treading sea fully melted into the void, I call the name of my immortal art. My immortal art, and the new name of the all heaven's sword. It is something that has already been passed down long ago. Like combing, all intense turns them colorless. As I look at the pure white heaven and earth spiritual energy rising around me like salt, I look up at the 7 summoned giant gods before me. Embrace all connections and become impermanence. Crystal glass to treading sea, Bo Li Dao Hai Sheng. Ultimate intent, Ji. Immortal art, Xian Shu. Impermanence sword, Wu Chong Jian. Having attained the 3 great ultimates and obtained my own immortal art, I face the projections of the 7 deities without retreating with a smile. Translator notes. The literary work is referencing the novel, Damien, written by Hermann Hesse. C. 537. Goodbye, Taoist Co. Ha, ha, Co whale, Co whale, Co whale. Get a hold of yourself. Oh Hai Co pants heavily as she glances back at the ominous something chasing from behind. Goo. A moon, a massive gangchi the size of a small moon is pursuing her in Co whale. It is Co Unyun's gang sphere clone. Just from the aura it radiates, it feels equivalent to the quasi-star shattering level. If it were to borrow Co Unyun's power, it could easily reach the mid to late stage. Oh Hai Co grits her teeth and drags Co whale along as she flees. However, the distance between Co Unyun's gang sphere clone and Oh Hai Co continues to shrink. I can't shake it off. Oh Hai Co's pale complexion shows as she bites her lip tightly. But she cannot allow them to be caught. So she thinks of another plan. Wo Wang, Pabababat. The light of the glass peacock seems to radiate from her body endlessly. Then, Oh Hai Co splits into dozens of figures, scattering in all directions across the sun and moon heavenly domain. Whether fortunate or not, as she predicted, the moon-sized gang sphere fragments into dozens of smaller pieces, each chasing after her afterimages. The once moon-sized gang sphere has suddenly shrunk to the size of China as it continues to pursue her. Good, its speed has slowed. Oh Hai Co exhales in relief and starts moving even faster. With her increased speed, the gang sphere clone gradually falls behind. Eventually, Oh Hai Co successfully shakes off the gang sphere clone and manages to return to Lofty Dragon Star with Co whale where her main body is. Underground of Lofty Dragon Star. There, as she waits for Co whale, her face brightens upon seeing Co whale and her clone return. Co whale, you're back. The plan, how did it go? Oh Hai Co cautiously asks Co whale. The taiji ripples flickering around Co whale have also shrunk in size, and he gazes at Oh Hai Co with increasingly vacant eyes. Co whale stares blankly at the woman babbling in front of him. It feels as if he cannot understand a single word she is saying. No, it's noise he doesn't need to hear. Because it's meaningless. Co whale remembers what he just witnessed. Though he did not completely witness it, he once again succeeded in glimpsing the Akashic records. And he saw it. The answer he had been seeking. Co whale. Slap, slap. Oh Hai Co lightly smacks Co whale's cheek with her palm, and Co whale stares at her with vacant eyes. Co whale, are you okay? Is he okay? That's the meaning of her words. And Co whale smiles as he replies. Quote. I'm fine, Hai Co. Please, don't worry about me. But Oh Hai Co continues to look at Co whale with uncomfortable eyes. Oh Hai Co is someone who grew up constantly reading others from a young age. For her, observing Co whale, who has regained his emotions but lost all his strength, is not difficult. Quote. You're not okay. Quote. Hai Co, what are you saying? Co whale clutches his chest tightly as he speaks. I am fine, I'm fine, so don't worry about me. Don't worry about me, you don't need to know. Flinch. At Co whale's sudden outburst, Oh Hai Co flinches momentarily, but that's all. She continues to stare at him with a confused expression. Ah, seeing this, Co whale clears his throat and smiles again. I apologize for getting emotional. Just, please give me a little time to think. For now, the plan has failed. We need another strategy. A new plan to escape from Seo Unyun's grasp. At Seo Whale's words, Oh Hi Seo nods. Got it. But, Seo Unyun's clone, there was a massive sphere that seemed like one chasing after us. Seo Whale flinches slightly at her words. Quote. We'll likely be pursued again soon. If it's Seo Unyun's clone, it will soon find Lofty Dragon Star. What? This place isn't safe. It is safe. There's an escape route here that leads directly to a distant dimension. In the core of Lofty Dragon Star, there's a dimensional teleportation formation that connects to the True Devil realm. Even if Seo Unyun's clone follows us, as long as we activate the teleportation formation and destroy the formation on the opposite side in the True Devil realm, it will be impossible for even Seo Unyun to follow. Ah, I see. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Oh Hi Seo buries herself in Seo Whale's embrace, trying to steady her breathing. Seo Whale looks down at Oh Hi Seo, and while her gaze isn't on him, the smile fades from his face, leaving behind an empty expression. Quote. What have I been pursuing? He recalls the answer shown to him by the Akashic records. Cooing. Just then, the entire Lofty Dragon Star begins to shake violently. Seo Unyun's gang sphere clone has arrived at Lofty Dragon Star. Oh Hi Seo quickly wraps herself and Seo Whale in the light of the glass peacock, erasing their presences before digging deeper underground. Seo Whale, despite still maintaining cultivation around the 4-axis stage, knows he can't help her in his current state, so he silently follows her underground. Meanwhile, on the surface of Lofty Dragon Star, Seo Unyun's gang sphere clone lands softly, surveying the charred remains of the palace on the surface of the ground. As it slowly walks towards the ruins, it transforms into a human form. Seo Unyun clears away the palace ruins. Traces of familiar spiritual energy remain. And, beneath the palace debris, there, lying charred and fused together, are the ash clumps of Hun Wan and Yi Wei. Seo Unyun looks at them and, with a deep sigh, kneels on the ground to mourn his fallen friends. Oh Hi Seo's presence on this star is already confirmed. Since it is clear that escape is impossible anyway, it is only right to pay respects here and then go after them. Meanwhile, deep underground, as Seo Whale and Oh Hi Seo approach the core, Seo Whale predicts Seo Unyun's actions. By now, he must be mourning over Hun Wan and Yi Wei's corpses on the surface. He probably thinks he can capture us anytime, which means we have enough time to activate the teleportation formation. Dozens of schemes arise in Seo Whale's mind. However, suddenly, Seo Whale sees himself no longer wanting to think of such schemes. He understands what kind of situation this is. So that's it. I can no longer find a reason to live. He recalls the answer. Seo Whale gazed at the Akashic records and wished. He wished to know who his origin is, where it lies, and with what intentions he was born. The Akashic records, though it couldn't fully answer due to him being pulled away by Hong Fan, still revealed what Seo Whale needed to know. The truth is horrifyingly hollow and agonizing for Seo Whale. Seo Whale's origin does not exist in this world. The Akashic records judged on the soul, basing it on who gave him their heart, but in this world, there is no such existence who gave Seo Whale their heart. Therefore, Seo Whale, who was loved only by virtual personas in Agate's dream from the very beginning, has no meaning behind his existence. And by that logic, the first being to ever give Seo Whale their heart was the very Uo who Seo Whale believed had corrupted his main body. Therefore, Seo Whale's name carries no meaning, as no one had ever given him their heart. What holds meaning in this world is the name filled square, which Seo Whale himself erased in collaboration with Oh Hi Seo. That's right, the answer to the meaning of himself that Seo Whale had sought all his life is something he personally annihilated and erased with his own hands. Quote. The name, filled square, S name. I can't remember it. As Seo Whale moves towards the core with Oh Hi Seo, he realizes he has been shedding tears without even himself knowing. Quote. I am filled square. In truth, I was essentially the same being as filled square from the very beginning. Seo Whale separated himself and filled square, thinking of himself as the victor and filled square as the loser. But, from the start, the two were two different Seo Whales, split into two possibilities. Because of that, if they wished to become one, they could merge into a single personality at any time. It's not a matter of who takes dominance, it's simply returning to being one. After all, they were one from the start. However, Seo Wei-ol erased the name and existence of Filled Square, the only one in his life who had received love and could proudly speak of their worth of existence, with his own hands. He destroyed his own dream with his own hands. Seo Wei-ol unknowingly asks Oh Hi Seo a question. Hi Seo, there's something I'm curious about. What is it? Do you think there's any reason for us to be alive? Aha. Oh Hi Seo looks at Seo Wei-ol and speaks. Do you want to kill yourself, Seo Wei-ol? You're sharp. Yes, that makes sense. I used to think about suicide almost every day back on Earth. If I had managed to take control of everything in the company, I probably would have killed myself because there'd be nothing left to do. And yet, you are still alive. Why haven't you killed yourself? The reason I didn't kill myself back on Earth was because I wanted to sit in the CEO's chair of my company at least once. That's it. Pretty modest, right? But after coming to this world, things changed a bit. In that world, no matter how much I struggled, the highest position I could reach with the time and resources given to me was limited. But this world is different, isn't it? Here, with enough effort, lifespan, resources, and life itself increased dramatically. I became curious about how far I could go, and what I could see. So, I haven't killed myself yet, Seo Wei-ol. Hi Seo. You. Seo Wei-ol asks with a hollow expression. What meaning does any of that have? At those words, Oh Hi Seo stops and looks directly at Seo Wei-ol. She is acting as if she is a little tired but holding on to hope, but upon closer inspection, one can see that she also possesses emotionless eyes. I don't know. What? So I'm searching. I've been searching for a long time. I enjoyed finding out how many teeth people I know have, their illnesses, their records, their lives, and everything about them. It was because I wanted to know, what is the meaning of it all? Then, have you found it? That meaning? No, I'm still searching. What clue are you searching with? You. Oh Hi Seo points at Seo Wei-ol. It used to be coworkers back in the company, but now, I'm searching using you as the clue. For that meaning. What do you mean by that? When I'm with you, Oh Hi Seo finally arrives at the core of Lofty Dragon Star. She arrives at the teleportation formation area. The teleportation formation zone is built from solid, pitch-black rock, with skulls embedded throughout that emit an icy chill, creating an incredibly ominous feeling. Faint devilish energy wafts through the air, and grotesque life forms grow in various places, making it a truly terrifying sight to an unfamiliar observer. And there, in that chilling and dreadful atmosphere, Oh Hi Seo's face flushes red without her realizing it. When I'm with you, there's never a dull moment. My suicidal urges decrease, and there's rarely a moment where I feel like my life is in danger. You take care of my basic needs, assist with my cultivation, and somehow, though I can't fully explain it, there's a softening feeling deep in my chest. When I'm away from you, it's the opposite. My suicidal urges grow, I get scared, and I want to lean on you. The inside of my chest feels cold and hollow. As her explanation continues, Seo Wei-ol lowers his eyes coldly. Meaning, back on Earth, I read countless psychological and philosophical books and came up with my own definition. I think, meaning, is something that has a positive influence on oneself. You are a presence that positively influences me, Seo Wei-ol. So, I will find meaning through you. Seo Wei-ol slowly caresses Oh Hi Seo's cheek. Then, his pupils slit vertically. You've gained emotions, Hi Seo. It seems that way, though I still don't fully understand the definition of emotion. Hi Seo. Seo Wei-ol looks directly into Oh Hi Seo's eyes and asks. It seems you love me. Love. Seo Wei-ol doesn't fully understand its meaning. To be exact, in Agat's dream, in his first life, he thinks he vaguely understood it. But in the lives that followed, he could no longer feel any resonance with the word love. Especially now, after realizing through the Akashic records that his entire life has no meaning. Thus, with his vertical pupils narrowing further, Seo Wei-ol thinks. This works out well. Until now, Seo Wei-ol has been racking his brain over how to shake Oh Hi Seo off while descending underground. Seo Eun-yun wants both me and Oh Hi Seo. And we both seem quite important to him. Therefore, if Seo Wei-ol leaves Oh Hi Seo behind in Lofty Dragon Star and heads to the True Devil Realm, Seo Eun-yun will capture Oh Hi Seo and temporarily put his pursuit of Seo Wei-ol on hold. If Seo Whale can plant false information about himself into Oh Hai Seo's mind on top of all that, all the better. When Seo Eun-yun interrogates Oh Hai Seo or uses his senses of earth to read history, he will be misled about Seo Whale's whereabouts. I must abandon Oh Hai Seo. Here to survive, Seo Whale frantically begins establishing dozens of plans once again. Just moments ago, he had dismissed these plans as meaningless. But why? Seo Whale began devising plans again after hearing Oh Hai Seo's words. Yes, that would indeed be best. After quickly turning the gears in his mind, Seo Whale forms the optimal plan. It is to seize Oh Hai Seo's body. Beyond simply using her body as bait, but using tainted soul filling the heavens to turn it into a configuration and putting it into his own body. One part of Seo Whale will flee to draw Seo Eun-yun's attention, while the main body, inhabiting Oh Hai Seo, will be dragged beneath Seo Eun-yun. Seo Eun-yun will certainly conduct an inspection, but it doesn't matter. If it's the few possibilities he discovered in the Akashic records regarding tainted soul filling the heavens, hiding even under Seo Eun-yun's eyes is feasible. Seo Eun-yun will likely attempt to refine Oh Hai Seo. If she is captured and refined, Oh Hai Seo's personality will surely collapse. But Seo Whale is confident he will endure. In this way, he will hide indefinitely under the lamp known as Seo Eun-yun, waiting silently and unnoticed. And, someday, when Seo Eun-yun dies or becomes a great being. When Seo Eun-yun stands at the crossroads of those two outcomes, Seo Whale will emerge into the world once again and infect the universe with himself. Yes, that will do. Suddenly, a question surfaces in Seo Whale's mind, saying, if I infect the universe, what meaning does that have? But Seo Whale forcibly ignores the question and grips Oh Hai Seo's shoulders, asking, if you love me, good. Then I will ask for one favor. First, with my blood. Seo Whale. Before that, wait a moment. From the moment he woke up from the dream, Seo Whale has worn a mask his entire life. Oh Hai Seo suddenly holds Seo Whale's cheek and speaks. There's one thing I'm curious about. What is it? At her following words, Seo Whale narrows his eyelids. I'm curious about your real face. Quote. What? I'm talking about your true heart, Seo Whale. You said you've regained your main body now, right? So, show me your true heart. Seo Whale suddenly realizes he's heard this question somewhere before. Was it Jaeon Hyung, Your Majesty the Sea Dragon King? I love you. Kiss me. If you don't want to kiss me, Your Majesty, then show me your true face. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Seo Whale, I want to see your true heart. Please, show me. If you don't, I will detonate what I received from heaven right here. Seo Whale recalls the moment he ambushed and killed her. Even as she was dying, she clung to him and begged. If he didn't show her, she seemed ready to lose her mind completely and lash out with suspicious spells. In the end, Seo Whale had no choice but to reveal his true face to Jaeon Hyung. The devilish spell Tainted Soul Deadly Gaze. It's a devilish spell that forces the target to witness the reality they can least accept, and amplifies the emotions tied to that denial. Of course, this only works when what is shown isn't an illusion but real. After a brief hesitation, Seo Whale reveals Tainted Soul Deadly Gaze to Oh Hai Seo. At the same time, he shows her that horrifying pain, the hatred that Seo Whale least wants to admit. Single quote. How strange of me. Is it because of Seo Eun-yun's filling the heavens governing view? Why did I show her such a thing? Seo Whale remembers Jaeon Hyung's final moments. Jaeon Hyung, who claimed to love Seo Whale, saw his pain. The moment she saw the horrifying loathing and hatred embedded in Tainted Soul filling the heavens, she wept and ran away from Seo Whale. Just moments before, she had asked for a kiss, but upon witnessing his monstrous face, she couldn't endure it. Trembling in agony, she ultimately took her own life. That was Jaeon Hyung's end. Oh Hai Seo won't be able to accept it either. It's just when he thinks so. The next moment, Oh Hai Seo presses her lips against Seo Whale's. Their lips meet. After a while, Tainted Soul Deadly Gaze naturally fades away, and Oh Hai Seo pulls her head back from Seo Whale. It must have been hard, Seo Whale. Quote. My stepfather used to do this for me when I was little. He said this is what you do when someone is struggling. Of course, my stepfather kissed my forehead, not my lips, but I thought you'd prefer lips. It's okay, right? Seo Whale stands there blankly. Then, for some reason, his face distorts like an evil spirit. Crunch. Seo Whale's grip digs into Ohai Seo's shoulders. You, what are you? His eyes are completely bloodshot. Why am I like this? Even he doesn't understand. This is strange. My mouth, it's moving on its own. I can't control it. What is happening? Why are you doing such a thing for me? You love me. Get rid of your bullshit. It's just your breeding instincts awakening. Get away from me. Don't come any closer. Don't give me these half-hearted comforts. I can't be like this. I need to win Ohai Seo's heart. I need to nest within her and take over her body. I must remain composed. I hated you. From the moment I first saw you, I hated everything about you. You keep trying to figure me out, digging into the deepest depths of my tainted soul, filling the heavens that I deliberately kept hidden. Just why do you keep trying to know? Stop digging into me. Calm down, Seo Whale. Smile like you always do. Make the silly ho-ho laugh and apologize to her. Say that Seo Eun-yeon's vile devilish arts briefly made you lose your mind and sweetly whisper into her ear. You pry into others' pasts without permission, expose their hidden parts without permission, spread them, and distort them. Your very essence is so vile, so disgusting, I can't bear it anymore. And why are you so obsessed with exposing even the filth in my heart? Why, just what part of any of this could possibly be good? Put the mask on, Seo Whale. The mask. Put the mask. And then, the thinking Seo Whale realizes something. Ah, the mask. The gentle, smiling mask. The mask that spoke warm words and captivated others. The mask he used to make anyone want to follow him. That was the role he believed belonged to the Sea Dragon King, and Seo Whale had done everything he could to play that role. But suddenly, for the first time in his life, Seo Whale, who was hurling unreasonable and illogical abuse at the being before him without wearing his mask, finally understands. Single quote. I see. I really hate this. Seo Whale lowers his head, gritting his teeth. I hate myself. To this woman, the fact that you are digging into this terrifies me so much. The fact that this is all I have to show you is so horrifying, so pathetic, and so painful. Did I want to show her my true face, without wearing the mask? It is the first confession Seo Whale has ever uttered in his life. A confession. Yes, it is a confession revealing his true feelings. And Seo Whale's sincerity is nothing but this hatred built upon hatred since birth. Only hatred and loathing remain. Thus, the sincerity Seo Whale can show without a mask is, in the end, just hatred and loathing. Clench. The hand gripping Ohai Seo's shoulders tightens violently. Kudik, kudududuk. At the same time, Seo Whale's shadow begins to change. From the depths of the dark corridor, his shadow morphs from Seo Whale's form into that of a black dragon long. Seo Whale, with blood tears streaming down his face, locks eyes with Ohai Seo. His pupils, which had always slit vertically when he regained his cold composure, are now completely dilated and round. Why do I want to show this woman my true face? Only now does Seo Whale realize it. And at the same time, he understands how terrifying a poison-filled square had left inside him. Will never disappear. Filled square's voice seems to linger in Seo Whale's ears. It is true. Filled square still exists within Seo Whale. Though the artificial manifestations Seo Eun-yeon had engraved into Seo Whale had melted away within the Akashic records, filled square's will, faint as it may be, remains and continues to awaken him. Existence is defined by whose heart you have received. This is the enlightenment filled square had screamed within Seo Whale, and it is also the truth Seo Whale directly confirmed within the Akashic records. Because of that, Seo Whale realizes, but you accepted that he has been loved, even if Ohai Seo's heart is light, uncertain, and faint. Seo Whale received her heart. Believing she loved only his mask, he used the tainted soul deadly gaze to show her even his true face, yet she still kissed him. Yes, only today has Seo Whale truly been born. On this very day, he obtained meaning born through Ohai Seo. Drip, drip, drip. Before Ohai Seo can say anything, Seo Whale presses his forehead against hers while still shedding tears of blood. There's something I need to give you. It's miserable. Seo Whale is feeling an agony more horrifying than any other moment since his birth. When I first opened my eyes, I made an oath. To my origin, I swore to deliver my story. Boo-doo-doo-dook. It's miserable. To the one who has given him a heart of love, what Seo Whale must give in return. Are the remnants of a painful and agonizing past, remnants so suffocating even Seo Whale himself can barely endure them. It is an oath sworn upon his very existence, and thus, it must be upheld. The fact that the only thing he can give to the other is hatred feels unbearably miserable. Seo Whale sincerely resents his past and is full of torment as he presses his lips against Oh Hai Seo's. And through Oh Hai Seo's lips, everything about Seo Whale begins to be sucked in. His tainted soul filling the heavens. The techniques and knowledge he has obtained. The spells he has learned, the fragments of ancient force he obtained in the head realm. The fragment of Agat's dream, nearly broken after gazing into the Akashic records twice with Seo Whale. And beyond that, Seo Whale's entire life, and Seo Whale's hatred, as he transfers all of it to Oh Hai Seo, Seo Whale's form begins to change. Like his shadow, Seo Whale transforms into the form of a sea dragon. Warurururuk. From Seo Whale's sea dragon-formed body, flames erupt. It is Seo Whale's true origin. Seo Whale is transferring all his life force and lifespan to Oh Hai Seo. It is to return the lifespan she had sacrificed to make the ritual dedicated to the owner of names. Seo Whale's body begins to wither. Gradually, his flesh and skin fade away, his blood and organs dry up and crumble into dust. And all that remains in that spot are Seo Whale's massive bones. Quote. From within his bones, Seo Whale speaks to her with the last remnants of his will. Everything of mine has been passed to you. Within you, I will wait. And I will be reborn as you meet others. Go to the true devil realm and stay there. Hearing those words, Oh Hai Seo staggers, as if still overwhelmed by everything she has received from Seo Whale. Then, she clutches her chest tightly. Seo Whale, Seo Whale. So you're saying, you're inside my heart, right? Isn't that so? So, if I go to the true devil realm and spread tainted soul filling the heavens among its inhabitants, you'll come back, right? For some reason, Oh Hai Seo's chest begins to ache. A pain she had never known starts to spread from her chest. But she has no time to dwell on it. Cooing. Seo Unyun's gang sphere fragment is destroying the entirety of Lofty Dragon Star. The subterranean world shakes, and the teleportation formation trembles violently. Seo Whale, so you'll come back, right? There's no answer. Usually, when you settled tainted soul filling the heavens within me, you'd answer. Okay, I understand. For now, I'll go and use my strength so you can revive. And, just in case, I'll take these with me. Oh Hai Seo reaches out, collects Seo Whale's bones into her integrated Dao domain, and rushes towards the teleportation formation, activating it. Flash. Oh Hai Seo sets off to the true devil realm. The teleportation formation area where Oh Hai Seo vanished. In that place, something begins to form where Seo Whale once stood. It is the naked body of a man. The naked man rises with a faint smile. Ho ho, did I become a leftover? The memories of my life are quite vivid. But for some reason, the face that once bore the weight of hatred is now no longer visible. But, why is it? Why does my chest feel so light? After pondering briefly, Seo Whale smiles. I see, I entrusted everything to her. Purple soul filling the heavens is a secret art completed through inheritance. And its variant, tainted soul filling the heavens, is the same. Simply, Seo Whale never knew because he had never passed it on to anyone. Tainted soul filling the heavens has been passed down to Oh Hai Seo, and through that inheritance, it has been completed. In that case, to ensure she can escape, shall I devise every possible scheme? Seo Whale smiles faintly, gathers some emergency clothing from a corner of the teleportation formation area, and steps onto a teleportation formation leading to the surface. Goog. Seo Unyun's gang sphere clone is crushing the entirety of Lofty Dragon Star, waiting for Oh Hai Seo and Seo Whale to emerge. Just then, something is caught in Seo Unyun's senses. It is a spatial ripple. Did they use a teleportation formation? In that case, at that moment, someone appears before Seo Unyun's eyes. It is Seo Whale, not wearing a dark red robe, but a blue one. It is exactly the same appearance as when Seo Unyun first encountered him. Ho, greetings, Taoist Seo. Kwajik. But before Seo Whale can finish his sentence, Seo Unyun summons the Black Ghost Curse banner and pins Seo Whale's arms and legs to a nearby rock wall. Intense pain washes over Seo Whale, but he does not even flinch. Seo Unyun asks Seo Whale, "Are you alright, Seo ran. I will pull you out. Wait, then, his eyes tremble violently. Seo Eun-yun seems taken aback. You're leftover. Seo Wei-ol left behind a leftover. That is correct. I took my own life just moments ago. I am merely the leftover left by Seo Wei-ol's final lingering thought. I plan to carry out the mission he gave me, and then I, too, will end myself. Then, what happened to Seo Ran? What are you talking about, Taoist Seo? Seo Wei-ol laughs cheerfully and speaks. He was, from the beginning, just one of my other possibilities. I only realized that today. I was surprised by your scheme. You must have known. That's why you forcefully embedded his heart into me. No. Back then, I felt pain because I didn't understand, but now I do. He is I am him. Therefore, distinguishing between me and filled square is meaningless, isn't that right? Seo Eun-yun grabs Seo Wei-ol by the collar. Seo Ran is no longer visible. However, Seo Wei-ol realized that he himself is another possibility of Seo Ran. This is because Seo Eun-yun's main body accepted Seo Ran's proposal in order to merge the two personalities into one and rehabilitate Seo Wei-ol. Seo Wei-ol is now in the exact state Seo Eun-yun had intended. Where is Oh Hai Seo, Seo Ran? Ho, she escaped to another heavenly domain. Seo Ran would never tell such a lie. I am also Seo Wei-ol, after all. A leftover where the two hearts have mixed. Fine. Seo Eun-yun opens his Earth Tribe senses and places his hand on Seo Wei-ol's head. I will see for myself. Stay STI. At that moment, Kwajik. What? Seo Eun-yun is horrified. Blood pours from Seo Wei-ol's 7 orifices. You. Seo Eun-yun shakes Seo Wei-ol in shock. However, Seo Wei-ol does not respond. Seo Eun-yun realizes. Seo Wei-ol has erased his own personality and memories using one of the secret arts he learned from the Akashic records. Through this, he has prevented his history from being read even by the Earth Tribe senses. Seo Wei-ol dies with a smile. While holding Seo Eun-yun with a few words, he kept him occupied until the spatial ripple that Oh Hai Seo used completely vanished, making it impossible for Seo Eun-yun to track her. Seo Wei-ol's life force begins to fade away. As he is merely a leftover left by Seo Wei-ol's lingering thoughts to complete this one mission, it is only natural for him to die this way. Seo Eun-yun looks at the being before him with a complicated expression. When he observed with the newly awakened Heart Tribe senses at the Severing Heaven realm, he saw that Seo Wei-ol's claim of him himself being Seo Ran were not lies. Indeed, the being before him is Seo Wei-ol, yet also Seo Ran. Seo Eun-yun finally understands the full story. I see. Seo Ran, your heart remained with him. You made Seo Wei-ol learn what love is. That's what drove him to take his own life. It is the insight of Seo Eun-yun, who has risen to the quasi-immortal realm. He ignored causality and approached the truth in an instant. Tainted soul filling the heavens was passed down to Oh Hai Seo. Did you really decide to live on within her in the form of a heart, Seo Wei-ol? Seo Wei-ol does not answer. He merely smiles. Seo Eun-yun senses that this is Seo Wei-ol's final conclusion. That long, tiresome ill fate with Seo Wei-ol that spanned from the early cycles. And, the connection imbued with memories of Seo Ran. That connection has finally been severed today. Seo Eun-yun decides to honor the being who is both Seo Wei-ol and Seo Ran. Recognizing that he has brought the long battle with the Sea Dragon King to its conclusion, Seo Eun-yun turns around. Goodbye. Seo Eun-yun suddenly ponders what to call the one left behind. The thought does not last long. The one left behind is Taoist Seo, because he was simply his fellow Taoist. And so, Seo Eun-yun leaves Lofty Dragon Star. In the collapsing Lofty Dragon Star, the leftover who is both Seo Ran and Seo Wei-ol. All that is left is the corpse of that leftover. Even until the end, the one who carried Seo Wei-ol's will entoyed with Seo Eun-yun continues to smile. Thus, Seo Wei-ol, born mocked by life, mocked the world, and in the end, mocked even himself, closes his eyes. Yet, on this day, his smile appears to be sincere. Perhaps it is because, for the first time in his life, he mocked not for himself, but for the sake of another. At the age of 9,000 years, Seo Wei-ol found rest. Chapter 538. Vast Cold's Descendant 1. An overwhelming distortion and fissure appear before my eyes. The Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords are descending. However, rather than that, I smack my lips bitterly as I witness Co Whale's final moments. It was a long connection. My old friend is gone, just like that. Though I cannot pinpoint the escaped Ohai Seo's location with my gang sphere clone, I am not worried about her. Did Ohai Seo inherit tainted soul filling the heavens? I reabsorb my gang sphere clone and contemplate her future. But, no matter how I think about it, I cannot believe someone like Ohai Seo will be able to wield tainted soul filling the heavens as skillfully as Co Whale. Tainted soul filling the heavens was such a terrifying immortal art because it was in Co Whale's hands. Someone like Ohai Seo can never use it like Co Whale. I don't know the details, but it seems she fled to the Middle Realms. In that case, sweeping through the Middle Realms later will resolve the issue. If it's me who has attained the entering Nirvana Stage 3 Great Ultimates, such a task is not a problem. Now, even the entirety of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain no longer feels so vast. However, everything must first wait until the immediate crisis before me is resolved. I calm my tense emotions, avoiding direct eye contact with the projections of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords being summoned before me, and speak. What brings the honorable great immortals to descend upon the Sun and Moon heavenly domain? Then, a voice answers. You, heaven-defying one. Did you not distort providence and defy the fated destruction? If life has a conclusion, then so must the world have its end. You have disregarded such principles and recklessly twisted the fate of the world, delaying the end. How can you not realize that this is clear self-righteousness? Destruction is an inevitability for the world's health. Do you realize how many eons of plans have been disrupted because of your mistake? At those words, I bow even deeper and speak. I apologize deeply, but this humble one is merely an insignificant being who knows little of the providence of the great beings. As the great beings have said, I found it too tragic for the living beings of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain to be annihilated, so I briefly delayed the end. I have spread heaven and earth spiritual energy throughout the entire Sun and Moon heavenly domain, and after making it so more living beings can ascend to the middle realms. I will not delay the end that arrives next. I beg for this one forgiveness. Ra-obs. I just want to give a few more opportunities. Of course, for those that still fail to ascend to the middle realms after receiving the opportunities, there is nothing more I can do. I know that persistently distorting providence is not necessarily the right thing to do. But, just once, can they not be given a chance? After all, I, too, reached this position because I was given one more chance. Therefore, I wish to give at least one opportunity to the living beings of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain, who must face sudden and unexplained death. However, the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords growl as if enraged. How arrogant! Do you think someone like you has such a right? Because the fated destruction did not occur, the time of countless heavenly domains have been twisted. The fact that time flows equally in every world and every place is due to the agreement of the great beings. Therefore, we must protect the flow of that time. Yet, because of your actions, the feet of these lords have been tied. If destruction does not befall the Sun and Moon heavenly domain as scheduled, these lords will not be able to leave to the outer sea. We will eliminate you, the root of this twisted defiance against heavens, judge all those connected to you, and destroy the Sun and Moon heavenly domain as originally intended to correct the distortion of time. I bow even lower at those words. This humble one has done wrong. Please, punish only this humble one. Punishing the living beings of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain and those connected to me is far too cruel. Please, grant mercy and forgive this humble one. However, the being at the forefront of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords speaks sternly. Impossible. We are beings entrusted with the mission to seek the Great One. We are beings that cannot afford to have our feet tied while correcting the distortion of time. Therefore, eliminating you, the source of this distortion, and all beings entangled in your distortion to recover the balance, is unavoidable. You must willingly accept your rightful punishment. Will you truly not grant forgiveness? You may punish me however you wish. And surely, the great beings can gather the distortions that started with me and spread to my comrades, and concentrate them back onto me and punish me alone. Would that not be possible? Why should we waste such an immortal art on an insignificant being like you? That would be a clear injustice and a waste. Heaven-defying one, if you have committed a sin then receive your punishment. I exhale deeply, releasing spiritual energy, and rise from my spot. Very well, then let us give this a go, Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. Though I do not look directly at them, I gaze roughly towards where they stand and shroud myself entirely in the aura of the impermanent sword. Seeing this, the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords stretch out their hands toward me with a tone filled with pity. Have you gone mad with fear? It cannot be helped. Still, we will send you off without pain. And so begins the clash of wills between me and the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords. Greedy Wolf Heavenly Lord Tan Lang Tien Jun. Giant Gate Heavenly Lord Ju Men Tien Jun. Preserving Wealth Heavenly Lord Lu Kun Tien Jun. Literary Melody Heavenly Lord Wien Ku Tien Jun. Integrity Chastity Heavenly Lord Lien Zhen Tien Jun. Martial Melody Heavenly Lord Wu Ku Tien Jun. Breaking Army Heavenly Lord Po Jun Tien Jun. TL, the titles are all derived from the stars of the Big Dipper. English equivalents are Dubi, Merik, Fekta, Megrez, Aliath, Mizar, Alcade respectively. The projections of the 7 heavenly lords simultaneously extend their hands. As the literary melody heavenly lord raises their hand, a nebula instantly condenses in the void, and a star is born. In the name of this lord, I prophesize. The heaven-defying one will be defeated by the martial melody heavenly lord. When the greedy wolf heavenly lord stretches out their hand, another nebula condenses beside the first, forming another star. In the name of this lord, I prophesize. The heaven-defying one will be beheaded by the breaking army heavenly lord, and his soul will fall into the abyss of the netherworld. Wing, twin stars Shuangxing form in an instant. At the same time, the twin stars etch themselves powerfully into the planes of Qi, Soul, and Fate, forming a scene. In that scene, I am defeated by the being called the martial melody heavenly lord and killed by the being called the breaking army heavenly lord. Wu Wang, the stars emit attraction force. As a result, the plane of fate distorts. And I feel my future being pulled towards that scene. Wu Wang. Simultaneously, the martial melody heavenly lord and the breaking army heavenly lord step forward. Though only projections, they stretch out their hands and swallow the newly formed stars. The stars enter the approximate location of their dantians and begin spinning rapidly. Immediately after, the martial melody heavenly lord begins flying towards me. Zhejiang. With their single punch, I am hurled away without being able to react, crashing into a fixed star within a nearby stellar system. Kururururu. The energy of the fixed star blows fiercely, and flames wrap around my body. That is not the end. Wing. Attraction force distorts space centered around the marital melody heavenly lord, drawing in heaven and spiritual energy and beginning to form something. It is an arm. Around the projection of the martial melody heavenly lord, terrifying arms begin to emerge, seemingly enveloping the entire universe. One of the arms of the martial melody heavenly lord, composed of arms, strikes directly at the fixed star where I am. Kurururung. Their arm begins striking the star I have embedded into repeatedly. Quang, quang, quang. Dozens of pillars of fire rise from the fixed star. It seems as if the star will soon shatter. And every time I am struck by that being's blow, I feel my fate being gradually pulled toward the scene of my defeat. At this rate, defeat is certain. The attraction force grows stronger, and the inevitability of my defeat begins to increase. Misfortune begins to engulf me, and ominous omens gradually grow in number. Single quote. I must destroy it. With my eyes gleaming, I gaze at the star of fate located roughly at the dantian of the martial melody heavenly lord. As long as that starlight exists, I will ultimately be drawn to that fate. Warurururuk. I quickly draw the colorless glass sword. Once broken before, the colorless glass sword has at some point revived within my colorless sword enclosure. However, the colorless glass sword no longer holds meaning for me. This is because there is no longer any Dharma treasure that suits the impermanent sword. But Buk Hyonghwa undoubtedly made this to help me. Clench. I tightly grip the colorless glass sword. At the same time, the colorless glass sword begins to shine. For thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of years. This is the colorless glass sword that has been refined with the glass true fire within my domain. There is no other Dharma treasure more compatible with crystal glass to treading sea than this. Thus, rather than it being called the colorless glass sword, it might as well be called crystal glass to treading sea itself. Warurururuk. The colorless glass sword sheds its sword form and transforms into flame. The glass flame, taking no particular form, moves freely within my hand, amplifying and absorbing all the authority of crystal glass to treading sea and myself. The impermanent sword has no form. Therefore, no Dharma treasure can aid the formless impermanent sword. However, the colorless glass sword, created by Buk Hyonghwa specifically for me, was made to contain infinite transformations. It was refined with her heart, and later received the hearts of countless others to become completed as crystal glass to treading sea. Thus, only the colorless glass sword, which inherited the will of crystal glass to treading sea, can embody the impermanent sword. The colorless glass sword that has become glass true fire itself, transforms endlessly under my will and begins to bend into thousands of curves and straight lines. At the same time, the severing mountain swordsmanship that has completely lost its form begins to unfold. Boong. As I grip and swing the colorless glass sword, countless principles of martial arts I have realized unravel in a single stroke, bending into thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of millions of trajectories to form sword techniques. Transcending peaks, entering mountains, climbing veins, flowing hills, solid rock, strange stone, deep mountain, hidden valley, mountain and river painting, dragon vein, precipice, 100-800 million creation emerging peak by Ba Yi Kai Pai Feng. The first part of severing mountain swordsmanship, which combines fundamental sword basics, begins to deflect the arms of the martial melody Heavenly Lord. However, the martial melody Heavenly Lord, with movements that also carry their own martial principles, rive their hundreds of millions of arms as they crawl and pierce into my sword domain. Yet, inside the breached sword domain, even more ruthless sword techniques await. No, these are no longer just techniques. Joy of mountains and peaks, Chi mountain heart heaven, layered mountains, mountain tiger, mountain and valley transformation, echoing valley, mountain echoes valley response, 9 mountains 8 seas, heavenly lake, severing mountain. The extremes of cutting, splitting, tearing, blocking, deflecting, absorbing, and countering, all the ultimates of attack are melted into something greater. What unfolds through the colorless glass sword is the very will to cut down. Endless mountains beyond mountains. Foolish old man moves mountains. I incorporate 2 more concepts into the sword technique, gradually growing stronger. As time passes, I absorb not only the martial melody Heavenly Lord's power but also the recoil from our body to slowly but surely grow stronger. But, the attraction force emanating from within the martial melody Heavenly Lord begins to gradually pull me into the scene of defeat. Ridiculous misfortunes and ill fates start to stack against me, and the gaps I am forced to reveal provide countless opportunities for the martial melody Heavenly Lord. At last, their arms pierce into my domain once again. The domain formed from the sword techniques derived from sincerely researching the applications of sword energy, the combination of intent and martial principles permits the martial melody Heavenly Lord's movements. However, the storm raging around me has not yet subsided. Up until now, the place where the arms of the martial melody Heavenly Lord have intruded are within the domain of basic sword techniques and application of sword energy unfolded by the colorless glass sword. However, from this point onwards, the domain I unfold is the domain of the impermanent sword. Swordsmanship integrating heaven, earth, and heart begins to unravel. Pot, a pure white light bursts forth, and rays of sea of righteousness and mountain of grace erupt from my entire body. Thousands, hundreds of millions, trillions of strands of sea of righteousness and mountain of grace become a storm blowing around me. The storm of light begins to sweep the surroundings, tearing apart the arms of the martial melody Heavenly Lord's arms. One annihilation to the near shore explodes, further strengthening the storm of light. Through guiding to the summit, countless fine lines within the storm of light writhe and pierce into the martial melody Heavenly Lord and begin exploding. From within, sword formations activate, creating a domain of 12,000 peaks that begins to shatter the arms of the martial melody Heavenly Lord. Through boundless doubt to the other shore, what seems like a one-time phenomenon of this storm of light instead continues to dance without end, endlessly growing stronger as it intertwines. With foolish old man moves mountains. With deep mountain, emerging Tao, the storm of light crosses the plains of Qi, soul, and fate, utilizing that overwhelming speed to repel the martial melody Heavenly Lord's body with overwhelming force. At the same time, a brief opening appears in the martial melody Heavenly Lord's movements. Using accumulating dust forms a mountain, I merge the storm of light into one. A single sky-splitting strike containing all of me bursts upon the body of the marital melody Heavenly Lord. The rough outline of their projections Dantian is exposed. Through transcending mountain ridge embedment, the lower abdomen of the martial melody Heavenly Lord, who is thinking about me, ruptures, fully exposing the star of prophecy hidden within their Dantian to the world. Then comes the combination move of Sumeru and Kunlun. The move of Sumeru that I had to previously draw strength through a sword dance to activate, is now in a state that is practically no different from constantly performing a sword dance, through the impermanent sword, eliminating the casting time entirely. Thus, without any hesitation, I borrow the power of the sun and moon heavenly domain through Sumeru and launch the thrust of Kunlun. Flash. At that moment, a tiny hole appears on the star of prophecy. But that is all. The prophetic star remains intact. However, I leave my will within the star of prophecy using transcending mountain ridge embedment and guiding to the summit. Immediately after, the will follows my intention, and the 35th move of severing mountain swordsmanship, cedarwood, activates. From within the star of prophecy, countless manifestations of the heart tribe begin to burst forth. Jang Ike's 4 treasures annihilating heaven's blade, Kim Young-hoon's surpassing radiant creation form, non-toppling non-standing, endless cold window, illusory play under the rosy afterglow, mountain repelling whip, sudden wind sudden rain, flower soul, Jin Ma Yal's fighting step. The countless dreams of the heart tribe shatter the dream of the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords head-on. Jeong. The star of prophecy collapses, and the dream they had in that fleeting moment. The future where I am defeated crumbles away. Kwang. Slightly staggering from the explosion caused by cedarwood, the martial melody heavenly lord exchanges glances with the other heavenly lords. Truly remarkable. It does not feel good to destroy one so exceptional with our own hands. But the distortion must be corrected. Then, the giant gate heavenly lord, the preserving wealth heavenly lord, and the integrity chastity heavenly lord each raise their hands. I prophesize. The providence of the sun and moon heavenly domain shall perceive the price of the distortion. I prophesize. O providence that is known to all. Thy shall pay the price for that distortion. I prophesize. The price of distortion shall rightfully return to the heaven-defying one as retribution. Kugugugugu. 3 stars are born, and 3 fates are ordained. At the same time, across the entire sun and moon heavenly domain, the aftermath of end I deferred begins to surface. Gugugugu. As the price for the postponed end, the terrifying distortion of the universe begins to twist me. The space where I stand distorts. Simultaneously, the very spot I occupy seems on the verge of collapse. Gook, guguk, guguguguguk. However, I begin to gradually escape the distorted space, carrying the impermanent sword within me. At that moment, the greedy wolf heavenly lord raises their hand again. Seeing this, I can't help but be shocked. Insane. Could it be? I prophesize. A future where the heaven-defying one is swallowed by a black hole is seen. Quadududuk. Along with the distortion of the space I am standing in, a black hole of the universe begins to form directly behind me. The black hole, too, is a star of prophecy, and because of that prophetic star, my body starts getting sucked into the black hole. The gravity of the black hole begins to violently compress my body. Of course, under normal circumstances, something like this black hole would not be an issue, but the problem is the breaking army heavenly lord. The prophetic star inside the belly of the breaking army heavenly lord. The prophecy that I will be beheaded and killed by the breaking army heavenly lord is gradually approaching. The more I am compressed by the black star, the harder it becomes to move my body, and the breaking army heavenly lord slowly approaches me. I grit my teeth tightly and begin to rise from my position. Warururuk. The colorless glass sword blazes, engulfing my body and helping me rise. As expected, severing mountain swordsmanship alone isn't enough. After using the impermanence sword once, I can understand. This impermanence sword, which reaches complete impermanence, cannot fully unleash its power with conventional sword techniques that possess form. I must create it. Here and now, I must create a swordsmanship capable of fully unleashing the impermanence sword. Can I do it? At some point, my void perception has grown and grown, reaching a level that can be compared to Kim Young-hoon. However, I truly do not know if my martial arts will yield a good result. Single quote. Right, but I smile and raise myself up completely. Let's believe in myself. I am a fool and a dullard. However, as I said to Seo Weo, I have reached this point by overcoming countless adversities, failures, and defeats. If I am such a fool, I will be able to overcome whatever adversity comes my way. If I can't create it, I will fix it. Fix it, and fix it again, until I reach the right answer, even within failure. Walking forward without giving up. That is the way a dullard fights. Wing. I begin to condense the forms of the severing mountain swordsmanship. The 36 techniques are undeniably powerful, and among them, the 36th move I've envisioned holds such devastating might that, if completed, I feel I could slay a true immortal even at the sacred vessel stage. However, the techniques other than the 36th are ultimately unsuitable for wielding the impermanent sword. Therefore, to properly wield the impermanent sword, I begin refining a sword form to properly reach the impermanence sword. The first 12 moves of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. A sword art GNE that was created by combining the fundamentals of the sword. I compress them into a single form. The middle 12 moves of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. A sword style GN that reaches the pinnacle of the sword through combining the mastery of sword energy and intent. I refine them into a single form. Excluding the 36th, the final 11 moves of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. A sword doctrine GN Shui that integrates the 3 powers of heaven, earth, and heart to expand the domain of the sword and elevates the very potential of the sword itself. I birth them as a single form. Thus, the 3 sword forms are created. Keying. In the next moment, I unleash the impermanence sword. Quarerararik. The first form, born from the first 12 moves of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. Entering heaven. Flash. Countless stances and forms of the sword combine, shattering the black hole behind me. The second form, born from the middle 12 moves of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. Treading. Heaven. Careering. The impermanence sword surges wildly, combining countless sword styles. With just a thought, destructive power erupts, shattering the 3 prophetic stars summoned by the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords. I prophesize, but they begin to prophesize once again. As expected of true immortals. And not just any true immortals, but as high-ranking ones, they display overwhelming majesty, recklessly welding prophecies that would require dozens of entering nirvana's countless years of painstaking effort to just cough out one. 7 stars of fate are born again. 7 stages leading to my defeat unfold before my eyes. However, the third form, created through the final moves of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. Punishing heaven, Fatien. The next moment, the glass of the crystal glass to treading sea seems to sweep across the entire star system and the cosmic space, shattering the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords and all their prophetic stars. This is the sword form that maximizes the potential of the impermanence sword. Severing heaven's sword form, Duan Tian Jian Xing. Let us continue. This will be completely different from before. Chapter 539. Vast Cold's Descendant 2. The 3 forms included in Severing Heaven's sword form. The words that can describe the sword will contained in these forms are as follows. First form, Entering Heaven. This is also referred to as hand commands. Swordsmen refer to it as hand commands sword, and the sword will of entering heaven can be described as freely wielding the sword within one's own hand. Quack. I hold the colorless glass sword and begin to swing it. Now, both the speed of my movements and the preparation time have reached the point where they can be said to be as fast as light. Starting from Severing Mountain Swordsmanship, every sword technique I've seen from martial artists during my time in the martial world, the flying sword techniques of cultivators, the natural disasters I witnessed in Bright Cold Realm, and the principles of the universe I observed while traveling through the astral realm. All of them burst forth in a single motion, Yi Shou. Quarerararik. At first, it seems almost like scribbles. Lines and dots crossing each other meaninglessly, as if a child had wildly brushed a painting. But soon, the dots and lines begin to converge around me, consuming the surroundings with countless trajectories. This is, rather, an explosion. Quarerararik. The explosion of martial arts seems to devour the surrounding space. A storm of countless slashes appears to consume the surrounding area in an instant. The projections of the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords momentarily retreat. I quickly prepare the next form. Second form, Treading Heaven. This is also referred to as I commands. Since ancient times, among martial artists and flying sword cultivators, it has been referred to as a swordsmanship that freely unfolds within one's field of vision or domain of consciousness. Pot. It is light. No, to be precise, it is a trajectory. Thousands, tens of thousands of light trajectories split through the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords. Countless curves and straight lines tear through the heavenly lords, then scatter apart and detonate nearby planets and fixed stars. Simultaneously, the trajectories move freely, changing form on the spot and twisting their paths. Perhaps, with the second form of Severing Heaven's sword form now complete, it could rival surpassing Radiant Saber in pure speed alone. I watch as the trajectories extend according to my will, returning, splitting, overlapping, bending, twisting, and softly connecting. The trajectories chase after the Northern Dipper. 7 heavenly lords like living entities, relentlessly pursuing their projections. At the same time, the eyes of the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords shine. How troublesome. Yet, that's all. It's time to bring this to an end. In the name of the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords, we prophesize. The Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords scatter to different positions and stretch their arms towards me. Coo-goo-goo-goo-goo-goo. Stars begin to form in the cosmic space. At the same time, scenes are reflected within the interior of the stars. Heaven defying one. After 3 breaths, you shall gaze upon us. It is a simple and clear prophecy that, in approximately 3 seconds, I will gaze upon them. But is it because it is such a simple prophecy? I can sense that the attraction force of this prophetic star is more powerful than any they have created so far. However, I silently reveal the third form. Third form, punishing heaven. This is also called Heart Commands or Heart Commands Sword, a form capable of fully drawing out the power of the impermanence sword. At the same time, if up to treading heaven represents the ultimate limit that can be reached solely by pursuing martial arts, then punishing heaven requires pursuing something beyond martial arts. Anub Epsilon S. The impermanence sword is not only the manifestation of my entering heavens, but also my immortal art. Until now, I have been wielding this immortal art merely as a formless sword. However, the true ability of the impermanence sword has not yet been revealed. Every immortal art possesses its own unique ability. As I take a single breath, it seems as if countless crystal glass sword mountains are shining around me. The true ability of the impermanence sword. It is, precisely, retribution Ying Bao. Retribution, also known as causality retribution, the meaning of this concept is incredibly simple. You reap what you sow. You receive as much as you give, is the essence of the term retribution. I have pondered over and over about freedom. I have contemplated how to escape the oppressive attraction force of fate. And in doing so, my thoughts arrived at the idea of giving and receiving. To receive as much as one gives. Isn't that the essence of true freedom? Isn't the reason why the beings of this world are not free because they cannot receive as much as they have given, or cannot give as much as they have received? That is my thought. Therefore, everything must be returned in equal measure to what was given. If I return as much as I have received, my heart will be unburdened and light. If I receive as much as I have given, I will likewise have no worries and remain light. Perhaps people are beings that can become free simply by maintaining the balance of giving and receiving. Quorarararik. In the moment that thought takes hold in my heart, countless sword trajectories begin to revolve around me. The trajectories soon form a circle, and within the circle, a mandala begins to be drawn. Upon witnessing the shape of the mandala, the expressions of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords seem to change. That is, you, Kuriririk. The mandala spins and settles behind my head like a halo. I stare directly at the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. However, nothing happens. I do not die. What is drawn within the mandala is the sun and moon heavenly domain. It is a mandala that symbolizes the entirety of this world. To give and receive is, in other words, to form a connection. My immortal art, the impermanence sword, as a sword that truly pursues freedom, can give and receive power not only with the planes of chi, soul, and fate but also with the interdimensional void, the netherworld, the eastern heaven flower field, and the source river, all layered upon the astral realm. Simply put, the formless sword, which once freely roamed the 3 planes, can now move beyond both the 3 planes and the 5 dimensions. For example, I can now borrow power from the underworld, the source river, or the eastern heaven flower field to directly face a true immortal, without advancing. This is a feat and miracle that only I, who has thrown my life into countless deaths and understood the nature of death to its limits, can achieve. The only quasi-immortal who can gaze upon a true immortal and remain unscathed is I. Have you finished what you needed to do? Of course, the power I am currently borrowing from the sun and moon heavenly domain is not merely power from places like the underworld or the source river. I raise my hand with a meaningful smile. The sword trajectories seem to change infinitely, altering the shape of the mandala. The mandala begins to bloom even further. In truth, there is no real reason to draw a mandala. The mandala merely provides slight assistance when using immortal arts, and the ability to give and receive can still be used solely through my impermanence sword. The mandala itself holds no special significance. However, this is a matter of courtesy. Courtesy towards those who lend me their power and those who accept mine. Therefore, although it serves no purpose in battle, I begin to draw the mandala while borrowing strength. The power of the entire sun and moon heavenly domain begins to pour into me. Keying. Power begins to surge wildly throughout my entire body. Because I have shown goodwill to the entire sun and moon heavenly domain, the entire sun and moon heavenly domain is showing goodwill to me. Although the blessing of vast cold, which raised my rank proportionate to goodwill, had been consumed as a one-time phenomenon, the power flooding towards me is separate from that. The reason I do not die despite borrowing the power of the sun and moon heavenly domain instead of the underworld. It is because since I prevented the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain, the sun and moon heavenly domain does not wish for my end either. I have formed a connection with this world. Right now, for this one moment, I am undying. Busi. Looking up at the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, I half open my eyes in the center of the undying power I have obtained. If it's this much, it's doable. Goo. Behind my head, the three great ultimates begins to rotate fiercely. Until now, I had merely kept it afloat, allowing it to spin lightly from time to time, but had it remained stationary in its manifested form otherwise. The reason was simple, because I have become too strong. If I had amplified my power too much with the strength of the three great ultimates, I would have likely reached the immortal domain and might as well have ended up challenging the true immortal advancement. But as the price for postponing the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain, my own death has also been deferred, making me undying. Therefore, even if I fully draw upon the power of the three great ultimates, I will not advance. As the three great ultimates rotates, the boundaries between them vanish. At the same time, I feel my entire body being dyed pure white. It feels as if my whole body is burning. No, my entire body is already burning with something pure white. I have become power itself that is dyed in pure white light. This is the fully drawn power of the three great ultimates, in the entering nirvana stage. Feeling the explosive authority surging within me, I stare directly at the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. Their expressions have completely changed. Have we misjudged? It is a rather terrifying force. Though far inferior to Vast Cold during their quasi-immortal era, it is to the point of being reminiscent of them. Regardless of the magnitude of power, the scale of his actions rivals that of the Golden Divine. With that level of power, we cannot allow him to cause chaos at the scale of the Golden Divine and disrupt the providence of the entirety of Mount Sumeru. Today, here and now, we must sever this root. They sincerely glare at me and begin drawing forth their rank. Once again, they and I clash. In the name of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, I prophesize. Once more, a star is born. I fake charging towards the giant gate heavenly lord, who created the star, then immediately change my trajectory and charge at the breaking army heavenly lord. The target is the star of prophecy within the breaking army heavenly lord, still locking my future into beheading. I, having become power itself, collide with the breaking army heavenly lord. I see it. The breaking army heavenly lord instantly creates a star within their body. In the scene shown by the star, the breaking army heavenly lord holds their ground against me without yielding. They counter my attacks while continuously creating small planets and storing them within their body. The planets they create bring them light fortune while imposing moderate misfortune upon me. Though their martial prowess is far beneath mine, they calmly counter my attacks with appropriate prophecies, seizes opportunities for counterattacks, and keeps my feet tied. This one is no martial artist or fighter, but a general. As a commander directing the battlefield, they use themselves as bait to hold me down and systematically exploit my weaknesses. Bu Wang. In the cosmic space, the breaking army heavenly lord's palm strike crashes into my chest. I am flung across an immense distance, but they quickly arrive before me, clenching their fist. Ujijijik. My entire body feels as if it's being crushed under attraction force. They raise both palms towards my body, which has become pure white power itself, and unleash countless palm strikes. Tong, 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 tong. Though their palm strikes do not deliver significant damage to me, they directly hit various points of my body that have been enlarged through my combat technique form, embedding planets or satellites into me. Each one carries misfortune and prophecy that cannot be ignored, and I gradually begin to be pushed back against the breaking army heavenly lord. The other Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords are also a problem. While clashing one-on-one with the breaking army heavenly lord, I survey the surroundings. The Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords are continuously creating stars while making prophecies aimed at me as I confront the breaking army heavenly lord. Gradually, my shoulders grow heavy, and I feel as though my throat is being choked. Coincidental misfortunes continue to accumulate, driving me into a corner. Severing heaven sword form, second form, treading heaven. Korarararik, countless curves and straight lines sweep across the vicinity. The trajectories of those straight and curved lines undulate throughout the universe, beginning to shatter the stars. As the stars collapse, the fates binding me also begin to crumble. The breaking army heavenly lord's palms come flying at me once more. I clash with the breaking army Heavenly Lord in close proximity with the first form of severing heaven sword form, entering heaven, while continuously intercepting and destroying the prophetic stars with treading heaven. This is the projection of a high true immortal. If I face them one-on-one, victory seems possible. However, I cannot completely fend off the combined coordination of all 7 Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords. An absolute deadlock, an overwhelming sense of defeat. Victory thickens on the enemy's side. No future remains visible to me. Single quote. Even so, I smile faintly. Despair is already all too familiar. How many times in my life have I been cornered, felt the shadow of defeat, suffered pain, and tasted despair? The number of times in my life that I felt, this is the end, is not just once or twice. Is the despair I felt back when thugs chased me out of my soap business any different from the despair I feel now, cornered by the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords? It is not. Both are the same despair. Only the scale and circumstances have changed slightly. The weak have the despair of the weak, and the strong have the despair of the strong. Those born strong rarely face such despair. So they train themselves to ensure they will never fall into it. But for those born as the weak, life itself is despair. That is why we cultivate the heart to always stand up again even when plunged into despair. I have always been weak. Therefore, I will not fall. The pinnacle of the basics of the sword that I have grasped, wielded, and explored throughout my life. The single strikes of entering heaven begin to reach the breaking army Heavenly Lord. Pekong, a planet forming on the breaking army Heavenly Lord's shoulder shatters. One of the fortunes working in their favor falls away. The trajectories of treading heaven launch upward, destroying the newly formed star of prophecy. One of the destructive fates imposed upon me collapses. One step, Tukwong, I strike the breaking army Heavenly Lord's pelvis, tearing into their waist. Once again, planets are ripped away. Minor misfortunes gradually fall off my shoulders. 2 steps, entering heaven and treading heaven linked together, relentlessly pressuring the breaking army Heavenly Lord. Finally, both arms of breaking army Heavenly Lord's projection are severed. Though they will regenerate anyway, for a fleeting moment, a gap emerges. 3 steps, following entering heaven and treading heaven, the form of punishing heaven begins to dance within my chest. The mandala seems to bloom, and my impermanent sword passes through the interdimensional void, the eastern heaven flower field, the source river, and the underworld in an instant, swiftly reaching the astral realm. A single strike, imbued with the power of the 5 dimensions, pierces the breaking army Heavenly Lord's chest, slicing their upper body cleanly in half. Kwong, boundless starlight bursts forth from the Heavenly Lord's projection, dyeing the entire world. Here I go. Through punishing heaven, the authority of the impermanent sword begins to shine at its maximum capacity. All those who have given and received hearts with me throughout all this time. The hearts of all those people begin to burst forth through the form of manifestation. Retribution is not simply about giving and receiving power with the world. Giving and receiving hearts can also be a form of retribution in itself. Green, deep crimson, sunset, white, black, light pink, sky blue. Countless rays of colored light head towards the dantian of the cleaved breaking army Heavenly Lord. Flash, light explodes, and with that, it ends. The prophecy within the breaking army Heavenly Lord that I would be beheaded bursts apart by my hands. Tukuakakwang. Along with that, the projection of the breaking army Heavenly Lord explodes. Chi. After watching the exploding projection of the breaking army Heavenly Lord turn into starlight and scatter, I continue to look at the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, who are preparing their prophecy in the distance. Astounding. To endure our interference with merely the body of an entering nirvana, and still suppress a true immortal. Even if it is just a projection, to possess the potential to defeat a true immortal one-on-one, it is a fearsome talent. With such talent, with such a fate, and yet, you, who dare mock and distort the providence of the heavenly domain, we cannot overlook you any longer. Wing. The light emanating from the bodies of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords begins to intensify. Tingle, tingle, I feel goosebumps rising on my skin from the sheer rank they are releasing. But it does not stop at just slightly raising their rank. The greedy wolf Heavenly Lord sends a transmission somewhere. Then, familiar figures begin to gather. Single quote. Damn it, so it has come to this after all. Chiok, choke, chiok. Following the will of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, 48 entering nirvana true persons that are summoned by them begin to surround me. Even a beast gives its all when hunting small prey. We apologize for underestimating you. In return, we will now use every means at our disposal to utterly crush you. Quarerararik. At the same time, I see the form of the breaking army Heavenly Lord, who had scattered into starlight behind me, returning. Of course, among them, the breaking army Heavenly Lord seems to be in the worst condition, but everything is returning to the starting point in the end. Can I really defeat them all? No matter how highly I evaluate myself, I am worth only one true immortal. But these are 7 true immortals, along with a group of entering nirvana true persons capable of fulfilling the role of 1.5 additional true immortals. In essence, it is no different from fighting 9 true immortals. I let out a low groan and spin the 3 great ultimates even more fiercely. Single quote. There's no other choice. Even if I despair, what cannot be done cannot be done. Nothing will change just because I despair. I will not give up. Just as I never have before. And so, greedy wolf, giant gate, preserving wealth, literary melody, integrity chastity, martial melody, and breaking army. The 7 true immortals simultaneously reach out towards me. In the name of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, we prophesize. At that moment, from somewhere, from a faraway place, someone transmits their will to me. Single quote. That place is Lofty Dragon Star. The Lofty Dragon Star where Seo Whale met his conclusion. From there, someone is looking at me. And then, they speak to me. Think about what you have. Chills. I meet their gaze. And as I see them touching the traces of Seo Whale, I feel chills running down my entire body. Draped in a dark red robe and covering the entire Lofty Dragon Star with red coral, that being looks at me with chilling blood eyes and speaks. Heaven, earth, heart. Do you think that is all? Do you not have something even more precious? Something precious. However, separate from the fear I feel towards this being, I listen carefully to his advice. And I immediately understand. He's talking about Kururung. It feels like lightning striking my mind. I've never once considered using it in such a way. But the moment I hear his words, I realize it is entirely possible. Suppressing the tremors that rise from my chest, I quietly offer him my gratitude. Thank you for your advice. The projections of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords seem puzzled, but I can't stop myself from smiling. Why didn't I think of something so simple? Well, in truth, it's been less than 2 days since I advanced to the entering nirvana stage of the 3 great ultimates. I simply haven't had time to try various things. Wing, the fiercely spinning 3 great ultimates. Following his advice, I add one more thing to that 3 great ultimates. Heaven, earth, heart, and wheel Gui. Above the spinning 3 great ultimates, the wheel overlaps. Of course, I can still feel that the wheel hasn't been completely added to the 3 great ultimates. When the wheel is completely added to the 3 great ultimates, I feel as if something utterly terrifying would emerge. But for now, there is only one result from adding the 2. An amplification of power through a new pathway. Just as I once amplified power through the Mad Lord's puppet circuits, now I can achieve the same through the authority of the wheel. Wing. Though imperfect and slightly awkward, the wheel and the 3 great ultimates overlap. However, the moment they combine, I explode. The universe trembles. This is no joke, no metaphor, but the literal description. I can feel the entirety of the sun and moon heavenly domain vibrating under my power. The expressions of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords turn urgent, and the entering nirvana true persons scatter their shocked intent as they begin to flounder around in confusion. In this moment when heaven, earth, heart, and wheel have combined, I realize, quite literally, that I have obtained a power akin to that of a god. The power and senses amplified through the 3 great ultimates and the wheel. Beyond them, I faintly hear Baek Woon's voice from the distant middle realm. Vast, vast cold. Following her words, the greedy wolf heavenly lord speaks in a trembling voice. Vast cold heavenly lords, returned Zai Lin. This is absurd. How could such a horrifying event occur? How could you possess such power in your hands? After only 500,000 years, is the world truly about to face great chaos once again? The Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords begin to exude a vicious killing intent as they erupt in rage. I swallow my spiritual energy and look at them. They are preparing to fight in earnest. Can I do this? Then once again, that familiar message reaches me. Raise your head. What you bear is not something that one who lowers their head can dare to carry. Lofty Dragon Star. From there, a dark red light begins to bloom. I can feel it. A being from the interdimensional void is descending into the sun and moon heavenly domain in their true form. Right now, you are on equal footing with this immortal. The likes of the imperfect projections of the Northern Dipper are nothing to you in your current state. Why are you giving me such advice? You do not need to know. However, for as long as you face them, I will support you. You must not bring shame to the name of what you bear. Thank you, you, Blood Yin. For as long as you carry it, I am Blood Yin before you. Thank you, Blood Yin. That's right. The one who has advised me to overlap the wheel and the three great ultimates is Blood Yin. That being, also known as the seat holder of vice, has begun to support me. All the beings of the universe are trembling. In particular, those who have lived for over 500,000 years are trembling like aspen trees, recalling the terrifying existence from 500,000 years ago. Since that terrifying being also defeated upper immortals Shang Xian during their entering Nirvana era, the traces of that terrifying being can't help but be seen on Xiao Unyun. Among them, the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords, along with Baek Woon and the other sacred masters of the Middle Realms, are literally writhing as if in a seizure. The forms of the Northern Dipper's 7 heavenly lords begin to change. Until just now, they had projected themselves in their transformation state, intending to send off Xiao Unyun in a somewhat gentle manner. But now, their projections begin to reveal their cosmic true forms. As if determined to eradicate this absurd existence here and now, down to the very roots. Yes, they are undoubtedly afraid of Xiao Unyun. In him, they see the nightmare of 500,000 years ago. They see the potential of the Tridakna vast cold heavenly king. However, even as every ruler in the sun and moon heavenly domain trembles, there is one being who does not, and instead stares calmly at Xiao Unyun. It is Blood Yin, seated upon and eroding the lofty dragon star, descending into the sun and moon heavenly domain. Beside Blood Yin is Ya-Eum, wearing a purple robe and standing with a bright and clear expression. Have you finally come to your senses? Oh Blood Yin, pee perhaps, your neck. Silence. With a confused expression, Blood Yin cuts off Ya-Eum's words and mutters as he gazes at the place where Xiao Unyun is fighting. There is simply something I wish to see. Thus begins the battle of Xiao Unyun, who has intertwined the 4 systems of power of heaven, earth, heart, and wheel to bring the potential of the vast cold heavenly lord from 500,000 years past to his hands, and the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, who are convulsing with fear at the nightmare of that time and ready to unleash their full strength. The entirety of the sun and moon heavenly domain begins to tremble. Chapter 540, Vast Cold's Descendant 3. The beginning is marked by my voice, declaring the start of the battle. Stars of the nations, hear me. The star veins of the entire universe begin to twist under my will. At the same time, starlight begins to rearrange itself around me, who radiates waves of immense power. Though the actual constellations remain unmoved, the illusions of constellations are projected across the universe, arranged by my will like the projections of true immortals. A total of 36 projections of fixed stars are arranged around me. Everything is aligned according to the orientation of the 6 harmonies. 6 stars facing upward towards the heavenly direction, 6 stars facing downward towards the earthly direction. In the 4 directions, east, west, south, and north, 6 stars are arranged in a row in each direction. The distance between each fixed star is 100 light-years. A spherical star vein formation with a radius of approximately 700 light-years centered on me takes shape. The sheer size of the star vein formation is enough to engulf an entire tidal tail. I declare, this place shall be this immortal's sword enclosure, forged in my name and made into a vast battlefield. This is one of the basic immortal arts of entering nirvana true persons, taught to me by Yohi, called opening enclosure Kai Yuan. The effect of opening enclosure is to assimilate the interior of the star vein formation with one's inner star enclosure. Kaiing. Within the star vein formation, boundaries of sky and ground begin to form. At the same time, attraction force emerges on the ground, and the 4 directions of east, west, south, and north take shape centered on me. Sword mountains of colorless glass sprout from the earth, filling the world. The inside of the colorless sword enclosure becomes a world with 6 stars. Underground, 6 stars in the sky dome, and 6 stars each in east, west, south, and north. The projections of the fixed stars, forming the foundation of these stars, begin to manifest the colorless sword enclosure. Warururuk. As I shoot out star tribulation and supply star veins to the stars I just projected, the projections of the fixed stars, which serve as the axis of the star vein formation, become even more solidified, beginning to substantially reveal the colorless sword enclosure. Those countless actions happen in a fleeting moment, and I instantly shift the battlefield to a place advantageous to me as I glance around at the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords and the entering Nirvana true persons. Do. My gaze alone makes them flinch and step back slightly. I can feel it. Right now, I am absolute. There is no need to use the immortal speech of the true immortals. Just a simple mental speech, something any cultivator can use, is enough. Come in. In the name of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. Immortal treasure 7 stars harnessing God banner, Qi Xing Jia Xian Fan descend upon this place. Flash, flash, flash. 7 beams of light flicker beyond the distant sky, and in an instant, 7 clusters of light are summoned to this place. Zhejiang. They are banners. On the surface of each banner, it seems as if one star is sealed within. While the power of an individual banner might not seem significant, the combined momentum of the 7 banners is substantial. On one side of each banner, the words 7 stars harnessing God Qi Xing Jia Xian are inscribed, and on the reverse side, Northern Dipper sealing immortal Bei Do Feng Xian is written. Clang, clang, clang. Between the 7 banners, I briefly glimpse an energy akin to chains. I can feel it. If I am struck by those 7 banners, my power will be bound by those chain-like things. Wo Wang. It seems the 7 stars harnessing God banners are not even ordinary sacred vessels, but instead operate using the split souls of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. While they might not be as convenient as sacred vessels, the connection to the main bodies must be incredibly strong if they are activated in such a way. However, even with such fearsome immortal treasures appearing, even with the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords abandoning their transformation states and gradually changing into forms resembling the stars of the universe, pressing down on me. Even with 48 entering Nirvana cultivators surrounding me, growling, I do not feel as if I will lose. The only thing that catches my eye is the energy emanating from the 7 stars harnessing God banners they hold. It is the power of the 7 stars I can sense from them. That's right, 7 stars Qi Xing. That is an energy all too familiar to me. It was you all along. I grit my teeth and pull up the corners of my mouth. Truly, I wanted to see them. If they had tangible forms, I wanted to face them, even if just once. To me, the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords are existences with a truly deep connection with me. Are you, the divine spirits overseeing the Qi refining 7 stars ritual? No, there is no need to ask. Because the wisdom conveyed to me through the 7 stars harnessing God banners they summoned already says as much. That the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords are the divine entities presiding over the 7 stars ritual of the Qi refining stage. Yes, the 28 stars I had cried out to in the heavens over and over again. The ones who govern the power associated with those 28 stars are none other than the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. Come, truly, I have long wished to compete with you. Then, the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords begin to unleash their power. Wing. Their prophecy imprints itself upon the world through sheer will, and stars begin to form. However, the colorless sword enclosure has already been unfolded. Bu Wang. When I swing the form of treading heaven, countless rays of light seem to shoot sideways before piercing into the glass sword mountains and reflecting off them like mirrors, crashing into the forming stars and shattering them. The Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords begin to move. Wing. In their forms akin to stars, they start to circle around me, summoning their disciples. 48 true persons join the battle. They follow in the wake of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, spiraling around me in a circle. Then, at some point, centered on the rotation of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, some kind of formation is laid out, and that formation is overlaid on the domain of my colorless sword enclosure. It must be the star enclosure of one of the entering nirvanas. All of heaven and earth becomes engulfed by a burning tree. At the same time, a certain will emanates from the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. 7 stars harnessing God. Ku. The 7 banners tremble violently and starlight bursts forth from them, piercing into my body like spears. Quaching. But it's laughable. The starlight shatters with a single exertion of strength that is amplified by heaven, earth, heart, and wheel. Impermanence sword. Heavenly shatter impermanence Tian Sui Wu Chong. This is the impermanence sword, the ultimate will of crystal glass to treading sea. Naturally, crystal glass to treading sea 9 categories form can also be unfolded through the impermanence sword. Kururururung. For an instant, I enlarge my form and slam my fist into the overlaid reality. There is no loud sound. Instead, reality itself seems to shatter like a sheet of glass, and from the point where my fist strikes, 100 millions of streaks of slashes erupt outward. With that single strike, the groundless domain overlaid by the true persons is erased, and my sword enclosure is revealed once more. Impermanence sword. Sword C. Impermanence Jian Hai Wu Chong. Quararik. The colorless glass sword, transformed into glass true fire, begins to dance in response to the impermanence sword. Below my feet, a mandala symbolizing sword C. Impermanence is drawn, and countless trajectories begin to stretch out from me as the center. Ping, 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 ping ping ping. The trajectories, like rays of light, are absorbed into the glass sword mountains scattered across the sword enclosure. At the same time, the glass sword mountains, imbued with the trajectories, begin to reflect them in all directions like mirrors reflecting light. Using the effect of retribution that is the inherent property of the impermanence sword, the trajectories are given and received between the sword mountains within my sword enclosure. Quararik. The phenomenon of the trajectory reflecting off one sword mountain, illuminating another sword mountain, and then continuously scattering as it passes through yet another sword mountain, endlessly continues. In an instant, the entire sword enclosure fills with sword trajectories under my will. Flash. Heaven and earth become filled with sword trajectories. Amidst these trajectories, I leisurely observe the Northern Dipper 7 Heavenly Lords. Then, the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord exerts their power. Kurururururu. The body of the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord seems to rotate, transforming into a black hole of the universe. Quajajajic. All the trajectories I released are sucked into the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord and nullified. The Giant Gate Heavenly Lord rapidly devours my trajectories. I smile faintly. What I unleashed is not something as simple as a spell. Immediately after, the body of the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord explodes. Boom. Naturally, within these trajectories, the principle of Kunlun from the Severing Mountain swordsmanship is embedded. The trajectories carrying the principle of Kunlun etch the principle of purity inside the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord's body. Even though they have transformed into a black hole of the universe, they cannot overcome the purity carved within them and begin to collapse. Kurururu. The body of the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord seems to boil, rapidly changing form as if trying to regain stability. At the same time, the Breaking Army Heavenly Lord and the Martial Melody Heavenly Lord rush at me from behind, pressing me down with attraction force and launching an attack using the true persons. However, I ignore all those attacks and charge straight at the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord, extending a single sword strike. With that, countless trajectories once again pour onto the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord. They attempt to avoid, nullify, or deflect the trajectories, but it's futile. I told you, this isn't some mere immortal art that casually fires beams from afar. Some people occasionally misunderstand. They think that when one reaches the realms of Chi commands sword and Heart commands sword, one no longer needs to move their limbs, simply nodding their head to slaughter enemies from afar. But I can state with certainty, that is wrong. How could one become lazier as they rise higher in realms? A true Heart commands sword means that one's actions have become perfectly synchronized with the speed of their heart. Quararik. If observed closely at each trajectory piercing the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord, my forms are faintly reflected within them. Indeed, this is not simply a form of firing trajectories. Just like in the case of Gang Sphere clones, I separate my Heart Essence clones, and through those separated Heart Essence clones, I move at the speed of my heart to, directly, swing my sword at the enemy before my eyes. The form of entering heaven is me moving at the speed of light, completing a predetermined sequence of movements and wielding my sword. The form of treading heaven is me separating my heart essence at speeds faster than light and then having those separated heart essences carry the sword of my heart directly to strike. That's all it is. A martial artist who has reached a higher realm does not grow lazy. Instead, they move even faster and with even greater clarity. Therefore, as long as one simply considers my attack as some long-range immortal art, it is absolutely impossible to devour or deflect them. The life of a swordsman is ultimately close combat. Everything visible now is no different from me directly holding and swinging my sword. It's just, the number of heart essence clones is astronomically high. Keying, the trajectories of light, my clones, and the impermanence swords begin to draw countless trajectories. And in an instant, flash, light explodes. Within the cradle of light formed by entering heaven and treading heaven, the projection of the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord completely collapses. It is then, clang, one of the 7 stars harnessing God banners, held by the Giant Gate Heavenly Lord, flies straight towards my body. Simultaneously, the characters written on the 7 stars harnessing God banner shine. 7 stars harnessing God. Northern Dipper sealing immortal. Along with that, the form of the 7 stars harnessing God banner begins to glow within the starlight and transforms. It takes the form of a flag. Wisdom floods into my mind, and I recognize the name of this immortal treasure. Northern Dipper sealing immortal flag Bei Do Feng Xian Qi. Quack. At that moment, I feel as if a heavy shackle has been placed on my body, and the 7 stars harnessing God banner, now transformed into the Northern Dipper sealing immortal flag, embeds itself into me. This is a seal. I immediately understand what the giant gate Heavenly Lord has done. Did they set a condition for a prophecy? A condition-bound prophecy that if they were to die, this 7 stars harnessing God flag would reveal another form and fly straight into me. I had heard from Yogi that such condition-bound prophecies hold far stronger attraction force. Especially if the condition is tied to the life of the giant gate Heavenly Lord's projection, then even more so. But, regardless, I have finished off the giant gate Heavenly Lord. Quang. After utterly crushing the projection of the giant gate Heavenly Lord, I stretch my hand towards the approaching projection of the greedy wolf Heavenly Lord. Impermanence sword. Ghost face killing Heavenly Order Gui Mi and Lu Tian Chong. In an instant, the atmosphere of the entire colorless sword enclosure changes. Tattered giants formed from my corpses begin to gather and appear throughout the area, and the power of death fills the heavens. The body of the greedy wolf Heavenly Lord becomes an enormous blue supergiant star. Quirurururur. The massive blue supergiant star grows large enough to cover the entire colorless sword enclosure, pressing down upon me. Simultaneously, the greedy wolf Heavenly Lord's 7 stars harnessing God banner condenses starlight and presses down on me. Quirurururuk. However, I begin scattering the power of death. Stop him. Stop the return of vast cold. The entering nirvana true persons revolve around me, constructing countless curses, immortal arts, spells, and formations. My body feels heavy, and misfortune clings to me through prophecies. But it's only for a moment. Wing, heaven, earth, heart, and wheel rotate behind me, amplifying my power. I add the power of death to this amplified force and launch it towards the blue supergiant star. Quirurururuk. Liquefied death energy envelops the blue supergiant star. At the same time, the temperature of the blue supergiant star begins to drop. Blue, blue-white, white, golden, orange, sunset, red. The gradually cooling supergiant star is soon completely devoured by the aura of death and vanishes. Gua. The interference of countless entering nirvana true persons weighs down on my body, and the prophecies of the Northern Dipper 7 Heavenly Lords press upon me. But they cannot withstand overwhelming power. Quirurururung. Ignoring the curses, immortal arts, and everything else binding my feet to the fate of defeat, I charge directly into the collapsing center of the blue supergiant star, clad in the power of death. Quang. Covered in the impermanent sword of death energy, I pierce through the blue supergiant star and burst out to the exterior of the colorless sword enclosure. The projection of the greedy wolf Heavenly Lord, pierced through its center by me, perishes. At the same time, I feel the persistent will of the greedy wolf Heavenly Lord clinging to me. Northern Dipper sealing immortal flag. Quang. Their Northern Dipper sealing immortal flag flies toward me and embeds itself. The second flag resonates with the first already embedded in me, and I can feel some kind of connection forming between the two flags. Quadududuk. The sealing immortal flags press down on me once more. Next is the martial melody. Heavenly Lord. I descend towards the martial melody Heavenly Lord and slam their form into a nearby glass sword mountain. Quajongchang. Yet, they seem entirely unscathed. Their countless arms, having become their very being itself, unfold graceful palm and hand techniques with their hundreds of millions of arms, pressing down on me. Though grotesque in appearance, their form reveals a certain level of insight into martial arts, much like the sword spear Heavenly Lord. The touch of the martial melody Heavenly Lord feels, quite literally, like a song of martial arts. However, that is all. Impermanence sword, twin flowers, black-white impermanence Heibai Wu Chong. The power of death transforms into the power of curses and blessings. With it, 2 colossal giants appear above and below the martial melody Heavenly Lord. Black impermanence, white impermanence. The black and white giants draw power from the source river, the eastern heaven flower field, the interdimensional void, and the netherworld, crushing countless arms of the martial melody Heavenly Lord with death energy itself. The black and white giants, imbued with the authority of death borrowed from the 4 dimensions. The giants' forms begin to change. In an instant, the giants become Taiji. They close the distance towards the martial melody Heavenly Lord and crush their projection entirely, grinding it to dust. The projection of the martial melody Heavenly Lord is consumed and extinguished within the Taiji. Flash. At the same time, another Northern Dipper sealing immortal flag flies towards me and embeds itself. Clang. The connection with the two previous flags begins, and I feel my body being pressed down even further. Giant Gate, Greedy Wolf, Martial Melody. The projections of the three Heavenly Lords are swept away at once. In the next moment, Kwang, the colossal forms of the Breaking Army Heavenly Lord and the Literary Melody Heavenly Lord crash down upon me. Strangely, the Breaking Army Heavenly Lord still remains in their transformation state, while the Literary Melody Heavenly Lord spins wildly in the form of a neutron star, chanting countless invocations. With every rotation, dozens of invocations burst out from within the neutron star. Though not immortal arts, the countless sealing invocations spread across heaven and earth like curses, binding me tightly. Impermanence Sword. Wind painting impermanence. Quirurururung. The sword trajectories whirl madly. Empowered by the strength of interstellar winds, the spiraling trajectories align with the rotation and frequency of the neutron star, finding a gap to pierce through its attraction force waves. In an instant, my impermanence sword shatters the Literary Melody Heavenly Lord in one strike. Kwang. Dozens of entering nirvana true persons within its path burst apart, rendered completely incapacitated. Kua. Run away. Vast Cold. If Vast Cold has not returned, how can an entering nirvana wield the power of an upper immortal? What is this? Just what is this? The entering nirvana true persons flounder in panic. I quickly turn around to intercept the Breaking Army Heavenly Lord, but instead, what greets me is the Literary Melody Heavenly Lord's sealing immortal flag. Kwang. 4 sealing immortal flags are pierced into my body. Kwajijijik. The Preserving Wealth Heavenly Lord and the Integrity Chastity Heavenly Lord trace the shape of Taiji as they transform into nebulas and begin to spin in the sky. Kurururung. Between the two Heavenly Lords, who govern opposing concepts, a powerful repulsive force is generated, and heavenly lightning falls to the ground. Kwang. The impact of the heavenly lightning shakes the entire colorless sword enclosure, and the manifestation of the star vein formation begins to waver. At the same time, from the point where the heavenly lightning struck, nebulae converge and form several stars that prophesize my fate. A vision of my sequential defeat is carried within them. However, I begin to release the mist of the canvas of myriad forms and connections from my entire body. With just this, you dare capture this immortal? Ha ha, ahahaha, Kwang. Impermanence Sword. Torch of myriad forms and connections. The impermanence sword ignites, and the torch of myriad forms and connections lights up. At the same time, the candle dragon true blood burns to its extreme, drawing gigantic power from within me. If the power of the heaven tribe is attraction force, then the power of the earth tribe is explosion. Overwhelming explosion. BEGONE. Simultaneously, an explosion begins from within me. Though faint, the colorless sword enclosure is still the colorless sword enclosure. The entire colorless sword enclosure becomes infused with the jade of yin-yang and 5 elements. Great Mountain. Do. The entering nirvana true persons thrash about wildly. Hua. Run away. Vast Cold. The Vast Cold Heavenly Lord has returned. The projections of the Preserving Wealth Heavenly Lord and the Integrity Chastity Heavenly Lord merely murmur as they look at me with conflicted expressions. The sprout must be uprooted. Are we not enough? Such humiliation from 500,000 years ago must never happen again. In the next moment, Splitting Emperor. The power of the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique bursts forth, and everything within the colorless sword enclosure. Everything existing within a radius of 700 light-years is split into 7 parts in the plane of Qi and vanishes completely. Then, 2 sealing immortal flags fly toward me. Kwang, clang. A total of 6 sealing immortal flags are embedded into my body, and 6 chains bind me. I glance around at the dim surroundings. All that remains is the Breaking Army Heavenly Lord. However, I cannot see victory for the Breaking Army Heavenly Lord. The scale of your power is so immense that even with the sealing in progress, it takes time for the seal to fully manifest. To the point where even we, the subordinates of time, cannot intervene. Haha. At that moment, I realize what they have been doing all this time. The subordinates of the Heavenly Venerable of Time, the Northern Dipper 7 Heavenly Lords, have been continuously casting a specific immortal art on me. It is none other than the immortal art of time acceleration. The reason they could create stars in an instant is likely related to this. While the sealing power of the Northern Dipper sealing immortal flags are remarkable, the sheer magnitude of the power I've amplified is so enormous that the sealing itself requires an immense amount of time. However, even in the accelerated time, I possess such overwhelming amplified power that I am not sealed. No, I will be sealed, but it seems it will take time to reach that point. How regrettable. If only we had a little more time, this might have been a fight worth attempting. The breaking army Heavenly Lord finishes speaking, gripping their 7 stars harnessing God banner with gleaming eyes. In the name of the Northern Dipper's 7 Heavenly Lords, I prophesize. I extend a single palm. My palm becomes a mass of power. Carrying the power of the impermanent sword, it advances, growing so vast it seems as though it could swallow the entirety of heaven and earth. The prophecy the breaking army Heavenly Lord was about to utter shatters completely, and my palm engulfs them, even collapsing a corner of the universe. Kururururung. It is a single palm akin to a single strike from the sword spear Heavenly Lord or an attack from Blood Yin with all his might. Kururururung. ... We will remember you. With those final words, the projection of the breaking army Heavenly Lord crumbles beneath my strike. After the breaking army Heavenly Lord vanishes, the prophecy of the Northern Dipper sealing immortal flag activated with their demise as a condition, strikes me, and the 7 immortal treasures of the Northern Dipper's 7 Heavenly Lords pierce into my body, crushing me. Kudududududuke. A pressure beyond imagination tries to seal my authority. However, this power, boiling from heaven, earth, heart, and wheel, surpassing even volcanic eruptions and like the solar winds, is not so easily sealed. If given enough time, I would eventually be sealed. But I see no need for that and instead begin shattering the seal with the authority I still possess. Quaching. With a single exertion of strength, a terrifying wave spreads across the entire universe. With it, the countless remaining entering nirvana true persons flee completely. They must have concluded that there is no longer any chance of victory against me. I ignore them and exert even more strength into my body. It's then. Kururururung. Flinch. I sense someone approaching me, leaping across vast light years of distance. A familiar presence. A familiar foreboding, a familiar malice. It is Ya-Eum, dressed in a purple robe, and Blood Yin, dressed in a dark red robe. Blood Yin. I stare at him and speak with a complicated expression. For aiding me, I offer my gratitude, but Blood Yin opens his mouth. From now on, his voice interrupts mine, and his eyes begin vomiting sinister light. Prove yourself before me. Kugugugugu. Ya-Eum, with a strangely happy expression, is absorbed into Blood Yin. Blood Yin then begins to gradually reveal his main body, spreading thick murderous intent towards me. Are you truly the workings of the Imperial Venerable? If so, you will survive. If not, you will face demise by my hands, your soul extracted and refined into an immortal treasure. Kugugugugugu. I swallow hard as I see this sight. I had thought the Northern Dipper 7 Heavenly Lords were the final and greatest obstacle left before me. I was wrong. The final trial of the 999th cycle is none other than Blood Yin, who now demands proof from me. Prove that you are worthy of bearing the wheel.